Good evening, Jace.
Good evening, Sean.
How's it going tonight?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Most excellent.
Good.
All right. We're going to up the enthusiasm level here as we get into some Blizzard Force. Got some.
Oh, you bet.
We missed winter, so we might as well talk about it. So, before I
It's
get
only
to. Go ahead.
it's only 2 days away for us, so we may as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Shadow Scout, I actually think it's from Alex Productions. I think it's called maybe Epic something. It's in the description. You can go find it. There's all kinds of great music over there. So to go, I think I put it in the description title for you tonight to go find out. So just asking about the music before we get too far in, because we have a pretty busy show. A little bit. I feel like tonight's show looks really good. Anyway, so hopefully we can bring the conversation to match the looks. So.
Oh, yeah.
Went for a little bit of a different look, and these shows, like I mentioned last week, will kind of be sprinkled in when we have sort of softer news weeks, and I think it's worthwhile after all the hot takes to get back and actually have some contextual conversations. So tonight, Blizzard Force happens to be the topic of conversation. So checking in here, X Todd, he was first tonight, by the way, and that might be his first.
Ooh.
Tom Walker second, Travis coming in from Oklahoma.
I'm slipping.
Sean Death checking in. I watched Sean play a great game yesterday in the league. We have Bernard checking in. Somebody pointed out that Bernard was fifth, so no hard feelings there. Stan checking in. We have Justice checking in. Leon Keller. I'm not sure if Leon's been here before, but if you have, great. And if you haven't, welcome for the first time. 48th Ronin checking in. Shadow Scout checking in. I got the music question answered. Pally checking in. Outrider Dan checking in from Las Vegas. And Travis mentioning that Blizzard Force suppressed the heck out of many lists at LSO, and we're going to talk a lot about suppression tonight because I think we have some thoughts in and around that. So Bernard is mentioning this is especially to Tom Walker, I believe. In his mind, he's always first. So Tom, there's no getting Bernard.
I thought I was
down,
always first in Bernard's mind.
No, you're a legend. Legends are they're kind of like a 1 and 1A, I think. So
yeah. Gotcha. They're just above first.
Yeah, above first. Yeah, they don't need a number. So episode 134 here. Hopefully get this one in the books without too much of a hiccup. I think coupled with the Friday night fights, we're approaching the 200 episode mark. So that is a lot of time that I could have dedicated to doing something else, but I've chose to dedicate to Legion. So that's where I'm at, and that's my justification for the nearly 200 episodes. So Jace, we're gonna get into the last week in Legion, talking a little bit about that. You played some games. I actually played games after. I played a couple games on the weekend. We'll maybe foreshadow a little bit what this week in Legion looks like, so we don't miss what next week's worth of Legion looks like when we talk about it, because I think there's lots happening there in my upcoming week. We'll talk about the league signups, maybe a little league update, and then talking about that and how to get involved if you want to. Small tidbit of AMG news to share that we got after the last episode, and it's not much in that category, but then we'll spend the bulk of the evening talking about Blizzard Force. We're not going to tell you how to play it or what you should play, but we're going to talk about all of the options that are available, and there is a lot. So seemingly Battle Forces on paper can look like they're kind of hemming you into a couple boxes, but I think there's still lots of room within there. You can run around in those boxes quite a bit and provide yourself with many options and flavor your Battle Force the way you want to do it. So obviously within the regulations that are set forth in the Battle Forces. So and of course we got to do all our housekeeping and all those great things. So before we get into to that, Jace, let me just grab a couple previews here. Again, just re-emphasizing what tonight's episode is about. Full of explosions. That actually is a subtopic because I want to share a small story about my game. I'll put that into my last week in Legion story. We're also going to obviously highlight Friday night fights last week, and this is a little bit of foreshadowing for the Blizzard Force conversation and kind of a source of that conversation. And then last but not least, Like I said, we'll talk about the league, and signups for round 5 are ongoing right now. If you want to get in the league, go ahead. It's great. You can jump in at any point. So even though you're hearing round 5, really every round is a new round. Some people jump out, some people jump in. That is the beauty of the league. There is some bans, and we can share all that specific information as we get there. So let's jump over here. I'll let Jace go first. Jace, talk about your, and not the Friday night fight because we'll get into that specifically, but what's your last week in Legion look like?
Well, besides the Friday night fight, there was not much. I built some models. That was about it. I'm slowly working on my Shadow Collective behind everybody else. So I've got, I think I did 1 unit of pikes, and that was about it this week.
Right. Jay's currently working on a Gar Saxon on the episode
Yep.
here, so he doesn't have as many buttons to push, so he can work. And
I can focus on putting pistol handles into holsters instead of pushing buttons. So
some pretty small pieces on there. So, all right. Well, that was your last week. All right. Well, that's. I mean, you did play a game, so we're preempting that conversation by saying Jace didn't do much last week other than play that game. So I had a busy week in Legion. All my weeks in Legion, I've been crazy Legioning it up lately. So last week I played. Let's see here. I played 2 games on the weekend. Maybe I'll start there. I'm also going to sort of truncate that conversation because I played against Blizzard Force twice. And we got other Jace down here this weekend, Big Jace. And he was actually getting back into Legion, playing some games, getting back in the saddle, which is great because we like that when we have more players. He wanted to jump back in, play some Blizzard Force. I suggested that. He started with Jace's list that he played on Friday Night Fights, and then we did some tweaks and changes. And he had a blast both times. I got absolutely blown off the table in the first game because, well, that's just what happens when there's certain missions and you have to do certain things. And then the next game, I was able to navigate around some of the maybe the shortcomings of the list, or I think specifically the list suffers in some missions more than others based on the configuration. So I was able to get that one in the books in game 2. But nonetheless, I have some insights based on facing Blizzard Force, and Jace will have some insights on having played it, and then you guys can chime in at the end if you've played or experienced or saw any Blizzard Force on the table, which many of you at this point have. Additionally, I was assembling. Full disclosure, Michael is coming here tomorrow. We'll be driving up tomorrow. We'll be here for the next 3 or 4 days. We'll be playing a ton of Legion. There's a vote going on right now. You can jump over to tellmetheodds.net. You can vote on all the lists. I don't have everything assembled, so maybe Thursday Michael and I will be working and feverishly finishing up all the assembly of everything that we possibly can get done. I think this week I've put together 2 Black Suns, 2 Pikes. Jace did a couple Super Commandos for me when he was here. I did Gar Saxon. I put together 3 speeder bike units. I put together 1 snail, all 106 pieces. I also assembled, I feel like I did something else. I did a phase 1 box that I had. I also put together 2 Stap Riders last night. So I did. That was my this week's assembly. I still have I think I have 21 boxes left to go. So hopefully I can power through a few more after tonight. And then, like I said, Michael and I can do a bunch on Thursday and Friday, and probably right through the weekend. I'll probably elicit some help while we're hanging out and in between games. So that was part of my last week in Legion. I also played a game versus said Michael, who's in my group, the Alderaan group. Shout out to Alderaan. We are all finished all of our games except for, I think, Stan and Debaticus have 1 game remaining. But other than that, we're a group of 5, and all of us got all our games in. So it is doable for sure. I played Michael. Michael was playing Luke, Sabine, Han, 4 Naked Rebels, and 3 Strike Teams. Versus my list, I'm playing CIS this round, as I have been most rounds. This time I have 2 Spiders. I have 5 B1s, 4 PKs, 2 Strike Teams, the sniper versions, and I have Kalani in the list and an AAT. So we ended up facing on Endor. I've played Endor almost every game except for 2. And all the practice games also on Endor seemingly. And we ended up with KP. Condition, I feel like it was clear. and the deployment was advanced positions, I believe we had. And basically opened up the game, tried for a cheeky bombardment with Orbital, hit a strike team for 3. He saved all 3, which was disappointing. Yep. And then basically spent 3 or 4 turns positioning to the middle, getting everything lined up to run on to the KP turns 5 and 6. I spent most of my time with the AAT shooting Luke. I ended up killing Op Luke before he did anything offensive. Michael never removed any models in the game until turn 5. And he did it all at one time. Michael played explosions on me, and as I said, I positioned my entire army, seemingly taking no casualties till turn 5, ready to go in the middle. His explosions went off and caused 23 wounds into my force, 19 of which were B1s, 19 of which I saved 0. He did a few extraneous wounds to a spider, killed a commando unit, and then 1 into Kalani, and then Darksaber went off, and then 1-shotted Kalani, and I lost Kalani on turn 5 as well. Pretty much panicked most of my B1s. I managed to roll off a few so they didn't run. 2 ran. But Michael didn't have his explosions reach one of my commando squads, and so I immediately appointed my commando. The commando saved the day in terms of keeping the bubble intact. And then I ended up going ham. I killed off 2 more activations plus Han. And then Michael was going to be outbodied significantly on most of the objectives. And so we called it basically at the end of that turn. Didn't require really a turn 6 at all. That was basically the game. So it got really hairy turns 5. So 5 was very interesting, and managed to squeak that one out. But heck of an explosions turn. I have never been hit so hard. It was absolutely brutal. So super.
I wish
super
my
fun.
explosions did that.
I know. And Michael had explosions last night. It killed like 4 or 5 clones, and I was like, anything that's less than 23 at this point is subpar of an explosions turn by my account. So.
Exactly.
Going 0 for 19 on the B1 saves kind of hurt too. So I did the math. I went to tellmetheodds.net afterwards and used Michael's tool and calculated that I should have taken 15.5 wounds. So I took roughly 33% higher than I should have there. And probably quick math, I should have saved at least 3 of those B1 rolls. So Michael hit 9 out of 11 activations with that, and there was really no option for me. Like, it was KP, so I basically, and not having had any casualties, I didn't have a lot of real estate to really not get hit hard. So the explosions went off, hit me really hard, and on all of the rolls, so effectively what he hit 9, so he had 18 dice rolls against me. Not once did he double blank, actually. So, that's pretty impressive. I always seem to be good for 1 or 2, double blanks, even though it was red. So, it was crazy, and so it ended up being quite a good game. Pretty hairy. I had to sort of maneuver my way out of it. But Luke dying and not being able to Son of Skywalker me, because an explosions followed by Son of Skywalker would have been absolutely horrendous. So, and probably would have shut down most of
detrimental.
what I had going on. So, and not having the Force user to tie and push is why I went into Luke and not Sabine. And so it was ultimately the good choice. I couldn't do much about the explosions play. It's pretty telegraphed. I just hope to mitigate, and I was lucky enough to have enough bodies to get through. So that's how that went. So so pretty much I played 3 games of Legion last week, assembled a bunch of models, and got ready for some shows. And plus we did a Friday Night Fights, which we'll jump over to here in a few minutes. So let's hit the social medias real quick. Jace, how do people find us if they haven't already found us here now?
So be sure to check out our Facebook, Star Wars Legion Friday Night Fights, Instagram and Twitter at Legion_FNF. And of course, you all know the drill. You should already be a member of our Patreon, because there is cool stuff coming out for people at our members, such as the new card sleeves that just arrived.
You bet. Actually, this is what they look like right there. So there is 15 spots left at tier 3. So if you join up, you can join up, if you join up now and then you're there for July and August, or August, September, what have you. After that 2 months stretch, you will, in addition to all the perks that you get for just being on the tier, the perks are extra to the tier value. You'll get a set of card sleeves sent to you. These are the folks right now currently receiving them. So, like I said, they'll ship out right here as soon as August clicks over. Some of those people are already qualified, but I'm just going to do that all at one time, so they'll all ship out. We'll do some giveaways. I think Todd actually won some on Friday, so Todd's actually going to get himself two sets, which is great because he's both a patron and a random winner. And like I said, we'll be doing some giveaways, so you do not have to join. That's just something that supports us. We'll talk a little bit about supporting us and how there's other ways as well. Like I said, this is just an added perk that we were able to do, and we're able to do periodically to help people out. So. So speaking of helping out, let's talk a little bit about the folks that help us each and every week. So Deep Cut Studios gaming mats provided to us here in studio. We run basically one every single week. We do greatly appreciate that contribution. Go check those guys out. Periodically, we have codes as well. We don't currently have anything running right now, but because it's not always beneficial to have a discount code. If you never sell your stuff at full price, then profit margins sometimes suffer, but they are great and do help us out. So if we have a code, we'll pass it along to you guys, but nonetheless, go check them out. As well, legionterrain.com. We've been running a whole bunch of Legion Terrain lately. We have to do some of the Naboo stuff. We haven't done that in a little bit, so maybe this week, or maybe Michael and I will crack that out and use a little bit of that. But go check them out, legionterrain.com. They got all kinds of cool stuff, including a Hoth set. So if you guys are in the mind of Blizzard Force, go check it out. They do have some Hoth, I should say Hoth-like related items there, including some really cool downed AT-ATs, which we also have here. We want to thank Dice Time, our affiliated podcast. Go check out the TheTerrainStudio YouTube channel. Brian just went and uploaded a backload, a ton of Dice Time episodes. So way back from December on, I think. So there's 11 or 12 episodes in there, including another battle report. So you guys are going to go check those out. They are on both our channel as well as the podcast channels that you can listen to, all the affiliated. I don't know all the names, but just search Dice Time Podcast and you can find them. Also mentioned earlier, tellmetheodds.net. This is Michael's tool. It's great for calculating those odds, figuring out if that explosions was accurate, or if I was on the receiving end of really good dice rolling or poor dice rolling, whichever way you want to look at that. But you can calculate that as well as all the great stuff. Figure out if Death Troopers are actually, or Dark Troopers are actually going to be good or not, and or if the Blizzard Force support units, the heavy response units, are actually going to kick butt when they're on the table, and I think the odds will tell you they will. Jason and I will also tell you that later here in a bit. The Train Studio, I'll give myself a little plug here, just only because I have a cool project happening right now. This is currently the wall, that section you see in the back. That is the window. That's the mock-up for the acrylic. So our friends over at Back to Basics in Australia, my friend Aaron, he and I are working together right now. We're just mocking up the glass portions as well as the acrylic lettering that's going to go across the window. So that is not going to have tape all over it. That is just a mock-up, but it gives you kind of a little bit of the behind the scenes of what I'm doing right now to make the studio background look a little nicer for you guys. So then we'll jump over to the Friday Night Fights. Of course, we have the show each and every week. This week, Michael will be playing. I'm not sure if he's going to play myself or Anthony. Jace is away this Friday, so he's not able to play. So some therefore a combination of Michael being featured on Friday Night Fights. I don't feel like I want him to cast, driving all the way up to cast as opposed to play. Seems to be insult to injury, but maybe by Friday he'll be all tired and maybe just want to cast anyway. So as we will be playing a series of games, we're going to broadcast some, and they may be more casual banter reps, but we will get some more camera time for myself and Michael here through the coming week. So probably Thursday through Saturday. So look for that. We'll give you guys some heads up on all our channels. So let's slide over here, Jace, and talk a little bit about Friday Night Fight. So I casted. I'll just mention that briefly. I casted with Ryan and Brendan. They came and joined us here. Brendan was the only one rocking the Friday Night Fights jersey on the cast. Myself and Ryan opted not to. Ryan opted not to because he opted not to get a jersey. Boo. But nonetheless, he does help us out and does contribute, and likely he'll appear at the round table as he usually does. I'm working the buttons tonight, so Jays can't kick him out. But if he gets too feisty, I might give him the old yank off the screen. But yeah, so we had a great time casting. The game was super interesting, actually. We won't reveal all of it, but of course, if you haven't watched it, you can just mute us until you see us leave the screen. Otherwise, go check out the fight, and if you already watched it, great. If you haven't watched it and you're still listening to us, go check out episode 58 of Friday Night Fights. It's all good. So Jace, tell us all about it. How did it go?
Well, unfortunately, Anthony decided to make plans that night to be home early and concede after round 2, and I kept him in the game till round 6.
So nice
but
of you.
It was a very, yeah, I know, right? It actually ended up being a very close game of some Shadow Collective versus some Blizzard Force, of which you will hear a lot about tonight. And yeah, it was a pretty fun game. It was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was key positions along with advanced positions and then clear conditions.
Right. Yep.
Right. Yep. So key positions, 10-axe versus 9-axe. Without spoiling too much of the rest of our Blizzard Force talk for tonight, let's just say those Raptor response teams are amazing. The ability to take 4 speeder bikes, also amazing.
Yep.
ATSTs, pretty great in general, except for when you shoot into pikes without maneuvering that many dodge tokens.
Yeah, I think that's just a problem for pikes all around. So we'll definitely be doing similar conversation with Shadow Collective, and obviously when we get a few more, I think we'll save our Shadow Collective drop until the swoop bikes come out, because I have a particular interest in swoops and AA5s. So we'll probably bundle that together. But I think as we play the Battle Forces, and certainly after this weekend, I think next week on Tuesday, we'll probably recap just in general, just some fun lists, because I think some of the lists that we're going to be playing will be off meta, certainly off meta. And I think just talking generally about the pleasure of playing throw together lists or lists just compiled of favorite units. I think there's a good topic there. But yeah, go check it out. Like I said, it ended up being a close game in the end, and I had fun casting, and there was swingy moments and good new command cards, and seeing them for the first time and how they work. I think there was a lot of fun things that happened in the list. So. Travis saying here, Pike, a dodge spam without maneuver and danger sense 2 is good. Glad it's 62 points base. Yeah. You sound like you should have a conversation with Anthony, Travis, because it's funny, because I was listening to a lot of people chat, and I was chatting to some people in Discord, and people really high. And obviously Shadow Collective had a great showing this week. Matt did great with them at LSO. And Anthony was, I'll foreshadow, he was collectively trying to sell off his Shadow Collective mid-game on Friday. So I think people are at opposite ends of the spectrum based on results, but I think time will be the best to tell whether the Shadow Collective units are good. I think they feel good right now, but maybe there'll be some answers for them in these Battle Forces and other upcoming units. So yeah, so go check that out. So all right, so a little bit of a conversation here about what we're doing here in the studio. Obviously, putting together the shows each week and putting the shows on and making them better and better each week is part of what we're trying to do here. We have a driving force to collectively entertain the folks that are here each week. So I want to thank Bernard and Sean. Again, I decided I was just going to highlight last week's. It's too hard for me to update it on the fly, but I want to thank those folks for their contributions. We have a big goal, and we only show this to be transparent and to give you guys some collective direction in terms of where we're going. So we are going to be looking to purchase quite a hefty priced camera, a PTZ, a pan tilt zoom camera here for the studio, because we have been positioning ourselves to increase the number of angles, and we have a really nice, you guys don't know the whole setup, but we have a really nice venue here in terms of being able to capture lots of things. You guys obviously get glimpse each week, but we are set up right now at the desk to have a really nice angle view through the 2 monitors that we have. And it's a great position to have a PTZ camera. We do not have one. And what that's really going to allow us to do is rotate that, zoom and pan into all the action that's on the table. So we have several cameras right now that are set up in great positions, and they captures a lot. But we're looking to just add that one more element. And these cameras are quite expensive when done right. We also are wanting to ceiling mount ours so that we can really get in and get from player perspective. So a lot of people are doing them on tripods and have them on the ground. And so they're kind of capturing from table level. We want to kind of go the other way and sort of really spice up our ability there. So we're going to start. This can be a long-term goal, could short-term, depending on how we get there. We're dedicated to that, and obviously I always dollar match from the Patreon contributions as well. So what we are looking to do is to do that. You guys can support us. It's TerrainStudio2019@gmail.com. You can support through Patreon. That also helps if you want to get those perks. If you just want to do dollar donations, and it can be any denomination of any kind. Of course, like we said, watching us each and every week is obviously a donation of your time, and we do appreciate that. So this is just something that we decided we're going to do as a goal. We like that. We appreciate that. Like I said, I want to shout out to Sean and Bernard. They didn't know they were donating to that, but that is where their dollars are going, as well as any subsequent donations that we get. So we just want to thank you guys in advance for that, let you know what we're doing, and obviously at the end result will be better for you guys each and every week. Once we have it, we'll add that to the infrastructure we already have. We have a lot of equipment here, and we've been growing it for the last 2 years, so we do appreciate all of that. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about some other fun things that we are doing as we get into this Blizzard Force conversation. But league signups are happening right now for round 5. So if you guys jump over to the Discord, or if you need an invite, just let us know. The league is something we've been running. This is basically going to be going into month 5 for us. So that seems like that went very fast. I've been having a ton of fun in the league. I know there's a lot of league players in the chat each and every week. So hopefully they can tell you if they're having a great time as well. But like I said, round 4 is wrapping up just here at the tail end of August, or start of August, I should say. We'll have an announcement show happening on the 9th, and that will be the League 5 rounds, round 5 league pods. We'll do that. We'll do the shuffle and get those announced. We have a ban vote going on right now for supports. It's kind of up in the air. It seems to be up in the air between Tons and FD cannons. Spiders seem to be leading the way, although I did see several votes for Stab Riders. I'm not sure who's leading the way in the Empire. It's probably Dewbacks. It could be E-Webs, but I highly doubt it. And then probably Barks are probably going to find their way into the ban list for the... No, actually, you know what? I think it might be Speeder Bikes. Speeder Bikes might be leading the way for Empire, but nonetheless, it's some of the fun things we do. So for round 5, we have some bans. If you've never been in the league but want to start, you can join now. You just got to adhere to the banning. So basically 1 unit per faction in the support category won't be allowed to be had. Everything else is eligible. You'll jump in, you'll play some players. You play 3 to 4 games depending on your pod size. Submit your results and then see how you do. And going into round 6 after that. After round 6, we'll have a 4-player playoff. Basically, we'll take the top 4. We'll do a little quick 1-week bracket. So we'll have two games and then 1 final, and that will be the end of it. We'll have a spot for 3 and 4, and then we'll roll the league over and start all again at the round 1, which will have no bans, be wide open. So that's I'm looking forward to that. So stay tuned for August 9th if you're in the league. If you want to sign up, you have basically until, I think I put the cutoff maybe like the 6th or the 5th, so you have some time to decide whether you want to be in that. If you want to check it out, the Discord has games happening all the time, so go check that out there. All right, last little bit before we get into all the stuff, we'll want to thank Gamers Grass for providing us with some fantastic tufts. I'm going to be starting my Rebel basing, and I'll be using some of the Tundra stuff for that. We want to thank Phoenix Games out in Australia, Bryant, for doing all kinds of things behind the scenes in the YouTube channel, getting the Dice Time episodes up, running the Oceanic League. So he's running a league right now. He just did a episode last night, so go check out his YouTube channel as well. I want to thank Aaron at Back to Basics for helping us out. He's doing some acrylic work for me, and he's obviously helped me out a ton in the past. If you guys see any of my hobby racks, they're all from Back to Basics. Or like those are really, really super fantastic. So thank Aaron. So, and last, we're over to the streets where Pally is somewhere. He's not here tonight, but I think he's in chat. We are going to be talking about two brief topics, real brief. People have talked about this. I've talked about it ad nauseum. I'm not going to get into the weeds too much about this, Jace, but we have got confirmation, and I say confirmation based on this announcement right here from AMG, specifically about the swoop bikes. So I will say that I am somewhat disappointed, not in how the whole thing's transpired, but the fact that they're not on big bases, because I was having all kinds of big brain plays based on the base size. I don't think those plays go away, but there may be some limitations in terms of some of the things that I was initially thinking about. But on the plus side, maybe perhaps, Jace, there is a world where landing your overrun attack might be a little easier now with the smaller base sizes. So there's just going to be slight changes to what people need to do, but there's no point in yelling or jumping around too much about it. Whatever the reason, it happened. They're on small bases. Small bases are included in the box, so you are not found wanting when you get the box. You don't need to wait or print or order or do anything else. Just the box art's going to be wrong. So, if you use box art, that's fine. Just adjust your base size, and you'll also be fine. So, I don't usually use box art for anything because I don't like my models to look like everyone else's. But there's that. So, what do you think about that, Jace? Disappointed?
I am
indifferent.
I am not disappointed. I am happy about this. That is the base size I was That's the base size I was actually hoping that they would be on.
Okay.
Just for the sole reason, I know the model looks really big on that base size.
Yes.
But just flying two of those bases around in cohesion would just be so difficult.
Six of them. Flying six of them around. That's really what you need to be thinking about. Yeah.
Yes. However, you only got to fly two of them in a specific range of each other.
Correct. Tom, yes, they have confirmed. So basically, they have said that the box base size is the correct size for the swoop bikes. And yes, you're correct. It is Droideka size. Yeah. So swoop bikes will be on the same size as Imperial speeder bikes, the same size as Droidekas. Yeah, that is correct. So that is the bases that you get in there. It's just that the box art and the first on-screen pictures, obviously, you can't really tell from this one, but this is also the large base there. So I use this picture specifically because I didn't want to get into the argument about the size, but I did want to show the model, and let's not forget, the model is no less cool based on the base size, so it will still be awesome. The head swap options are there, and I think bikes and Shadow Collective will still be fun. So that is part of the news. The other news that we have, and again, we're not going to get too much in the weeds on this either, because this is really all we have. I'm not going to go in and do zoom enhance, but you can see that we are going to be receiving Commander Cody, Waxer, and Boyle. Looks like on the cards, the card text is very keyword heavy here, with Observe 2, Jump, Take Cover 1, Direct Vehicle, Target 1. There is a couple, obviously, personnel upgrades in the fact that you get Waxer and Boyle. They look like they have Scout, and I'm not sure if that's Discipline and Leader.
Yeah, Disciplined, Leader.
And a few others. Looks like they have Lethal and Impact on the weapon. So that is coming out. I believe this is going to release much later in maybe next year. And I think maybe I heard mention that this one will come out with maybe Gar Ahsoka. Maybe that's what I was hearing, that this unit may come out.
I think it's the Gar Ahsoka and Ventress wave. So
okay,
I think they said Q3 2023.
Will be a Rebel Ahsoka though, right? Wouldn't it? Isn't it?
I think Rebel Ahsoka's sooner than that.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough. So, so either way, that's what we have basically for that news. There was a tweet out from Luke Eddy, and he just said that he's glad to see that the products he pitched and the characters are still happening for Legion. I brought this up because I was making this point earlier to Jace that good ideas are good ideas, and for me, whoever's contributing them, wherever they come from, whatever source, I'm just glad that good content and good ideas were just seen and brought to fruition. So, and I hope that continues happening based on whatever source of information or whoever brought those up. So that's good, and glad to see Luke is still around and following Legion, and I appreciate hearing from him. So he was only ever treated me nice. So I'm glad to hear from Luke. And like I said, and I think he's making the point here. It's good to see that good ideas are coming to fruition. So I'm sure there will be many other good ideas that are in the pipeline that we don't know about, but we can only imagine. I got into a conversation just yesterday. I think that Geonosians and Gungans should be co-released together in battle forces, and that would make me happy and a lot of other people happy. So who knows? It's a good idea, so I hope it happens. So like I said, ideas can come from many folks. So okay, Jace, we have reached the moment here now. We've got through all the things, last week's stuff and this week's stuff and what we're doing and all that good stuff. And we're going to get into Blizzard Force. So just so you guys know, let me jump back here to Jason and I for a second. So just so you know, we're going to go through this in a specific order tonight. We are going to talk about the documents, just briefly look at where to find them and the configurations of the unit. We're going to talk about the heavy response unit, the unit card, just looking at that, we've already done that. We're going to talk about the 4 upgrades that you get, and we're just going to give some thoughts on what we've used, what we've seen, what combos we think work together, why, etc., etc. And then we're going to get into 3 highlights, spotlights, I would say. ATSD, Veers, and Vader, talking a little bit about them. You'll notice that the points are going to be base cost and then not calculating any of the upgrades. We just have all the upgrades in there to talk about potential ones that you can bring. They're not an exhaustive list. It's not an inventory. It's just some thoughts around maybe some considerations that you might want to bring. Then we're going to get into the 3 specific Battle Force command cards, and then we're going to talk about 1, 2, and 3 pip options, because obviously there is options and maybe a dilemma in terms of choices, and maybe based on some of the other unit choices you make, that might influence the pips that you take. We're going to leave it all there, and then we're going to jump into Roundtable to hear all of your thoughts about Blizzard Force. So that is where we are at. All right, Jace, bringing us over to Blizzard Force. Talking specifically about this. You can find this as the AMG documents page, and soon probably on the website, maybe sometime in late August, we're hearing. So just so you are aware, if you're not aware that this is in fact a battle force, a field commander, keyword cannot be used in the Blizzard Force. So that is one of the limitations. In addition, you can take Vader, Veers, and Officer. You can take Vader in the operative slot, obviously not both. You can take 0 to 2 Stormtroopers. You can take Snowtroopers, you can take Bikes, E-Webs, you can take an ATST, and you're allowed to take the unique upgrade of General Vice. So just so you have that in mind, each one's got to include 1 to 2 commanders, and at least 1 to 2 commander operative, and 1 has to be obviously a commander. Core, each unit must include 3 to 6, so there's your options there. Support, you get up to 4, so that breaks the Force org of regular ones, but you can bring up to 4. It's 1 to 4. You must bring 1.
Yeah, you have to bring 1.
And then each army may include up to 2 heavy units. So it's a pretty stock standard limitation there. We won't get into skirmish on this particular one. So let's jump over here, Jace. Why don't you talk a little bit about Stormtrooper heavy response units? So you took some, and let's talk about the unit card first, and then we'll jump into the heavies. But just maybe give us first impressions.
You bet. So Stormtrooper heavy response unit, base cost 30 points. Pretty good for 3 models, considering a regular Stormtrooper is 44 for 4 models, so it's actually cheaper per model than regular Stormtroopers. Flexible response 2, this unit must equip 2 heavy upgrade slots. Conveniently, those are the only upgrade slots available to this unit. Precise 1, just like normal Stormtroopers, when you spend a name token, reroll up to 1 additional attack die. Unhindered, which we will talk about in a little bit. You ignore the effects of difficult terrain. And special issue Blizzard Force. This unit may only be included in Blizzard Force. Blizzard Force lets you take 0 to 2 Stormtrooper units. So the maximum you can have of these in an army is 2 units of them. As said before, 3 models per unit. 1 health each, 1 courage, red defense dice, surging to hit. And in melee, they throw 1 black. And the 3 regular guys at ranged throw range 1 to 3, 1 white with their E11 blaster rifles.
Yep.
So having played with this unit, I can say this is probably one of my most favorite units, favorite core units to play in the game. This unit was fun.
What did you like most about it?
So the fun thing about this is, of course, as you can see, the 2 heavy upgrade options. There's with Stormtroopers having 4 different heavy upgrades, and we'll talk about them in a bit, there is a lot of different combinations you can get with them. There's a combination that I think is best or most competitive, and I like the most, but pretty much any combination of heavies on them work. But my favorite part about this unit is Unhindered. Just a free Unhindered on them.
Yeah.
And when we get to the command cards, this stacks very well with a specific command card.
I think that Unhindered might be the actual, besides Flexible Response 2, obviously that's the trigger to get you the heavies, but I think Unhindered is going to go overlooked on this unit. And cannot be understated how powerful that is when you're talking about having multiple range 4 weapons and then having the ability to still move out from, effectively nearly a range 5 and then get in range. It's fantastic. Or closing the distance to be in range 3, adding those 3 extra white. You add those 3 extra white with an aim token and having triggered precise 1. The ceiling on this unit is really, really high. You're still back behind red dice saves. You still have surge offense, of course. The one courage may be a limitation, but we'll talk a little bit about maybe how to mitigate some of that. But that is certainly going to be a downside, but it's not any different than normal Stormtroopers. So it's not like it's a real knock to them. And I think they have a lot of inherent bonuses. As Jace pointed out, the 30 points is a discount. In terms of what I think, what you get for these, for this unit, and then access to 2 heavies is really incredible. So let's slide over, Jace. We'll talk a little bit about the heavies here. So just laying these out. So obviously we have the RT-97C at 1 red, 3 white, range 1 to 4. We get the T-21 Stormtrooper. You guys have seen that. It's 4 white dice at 1 to 3, critical 2. So you already have surge hit on there, but having a 2 extra surges to possibly convert to crits is not bad. We have the DLT-19, the classic, right from the Core 1 box set, range 1 to 4, 2 red, standing the test of time, in pack 1. And then we have the HH-12, also original core set unit that you've never seen. But it is 2 to 4, 3 black, and it is exhaustible, cumbersome, and in pack 3 at 34 points base cost on there. You can tell that this card wears all of the signs and symbols of being early Legion. When you have a look at that 3 black, 2 to 4 exhaustible, cumbersome weapon versus the RT-97C, which is 1 red, 3 white, 1 to 4, 26 points, and none of those keywords. But X-Todd and probably Sean Dethel could be coming in here to trumpet the HH-12 and how great it is. But none of your thoughts count, boys, until you jump into the round table and we actually hear from you. So just kidding, they count, but just enticing you to give conversation. But yeah, so Jace, why don't you talk about what you ran and then talk about either if that is your ideal combo or maybe potentially what might be better than that. So, and then I'll talk about what I faced as just a nice parallel conversation.
Yeah, so what I ran was I took the RTC 97 along with the DLT for all of the range 4 firepower. I mean, you're throwing 6 dice, 3 of them are red, so 3 red, 3 white at range 4. I mean, if you get something in the open at range 4, that's insane, but most things will probably have some form of cover. But even at light cover, I mean, you're still probably getting 3 to 4 hits through. Precise, too, on that dice pool just makes the rerolls insane. So that dice pool puts through a lot of work for not a lot of points. I think my total unit price was 74 with the 2 heavies.
Yep. Correct. Yep.
Yeah, so 44 points in 2 heavies, but 74 for unit base is not bad.
Yes. On the weekend, Jace, like I said, other Jace ran the same version, so he was also running the 97C and the DLT. Again, finding the same things as you. I think that unit at range 3 feels really good.
Oh, at range 3, it's a monster.
Just chucking another 3 white in, so now you're chucking 6 white, 3 red, so you got a 9 dice pool with precise 2 as Jace in his particular combination. Even if you don't have the officer in there and you're just chucking, just precise 1. Natively on the Stormtroopers, it feels quite good. Multiple aim tokens, are to be had. Either take a aim option yourself. You have if you're running Veers, you have spotter. If you're running officer, you have spotter. If you're running electro binoculars on units, maybe you have multiple aims on the unit when it goes off. Feels really, really good. In the second game, he actually ran two of the HH12 DLT combinations. So now you're rolling 2 red, 3 black, impact 4 at range. So really strong anti-armor.
Anti-vehicle.
Yeah, and if you're at range 3, if you're able to get this in range 3, now you're adding another 3 dice. So what you're doing is you're throwing 8 dice in that pool. So odds are that you actually should roll 1 crit, and most vehicles aren't generally going to gain cover. So you're probably looking at an impact 5 or better based on just straight odds. So really nice anti-armor punch. Now, obviously, you do have a cumbersome weapon that does exhaust. But if you're setting this as a fire base and setting up great lanes, and you don't need to have a lot of movement with 2 range 4 weapons, you do have the option to just be doing recover shoot. And if you have veers and you want to run Imperial Discipline, maybe that's another option for you to just simply recover with multiple units and sort of have that aim option on there again with spotter and all those inherently baked in things. So we didn't talk a lot about the T21, but if you wanted to increase your range 1 to 3 dice pool and make it a little bit more spicy with critical 2, it does still find its place. I think with the Surge natively on there, the crit 2 becomes a little bit more muted, but it's still our crits, and crits are great with the amount of outmaneuver and situational awareness out there, though. It does maybe feel like the crit on this one may be found wanting just based on the range band. But the other 3 do give you that range 1 to 4, 2 to 4 in the case of the HH12 range band, and I think they're going to be prime candidates for units that you might want to find in your force. So I don't think you can discount the reliability of the DLT-19. It almost seems to be the cornerstone of the heavies that are in there. Obviously coming in at the cheapest cost and certainly the most reliable dice pool. But whether you want to add your impact or you want to increase your dice reliability in the 97C, I don't think you're going to be found wanting with either option. So I think this is kind of that you're in a box, but you have some flavor and options to maneuver around here. So
yeah, I think the T21 is interesting because it's the most used heavy now in Empire Core.
Yep.
However, I feel that it is the worst one for this specific unit.
Okay.
Which is interesting, just because all of the other ones let you set up that long-range fire base at range 4, whereas this one requires you to get in closer. I think the T21 is great when you take it en masse with a bunch of stormtroopers. I mean, Vader T21s has always been a strong list, but I think in the rapid response unit, it's probably the last heavy upgrade I'm looking at.
Right. Some conversation here about bikes, and I'm just following both bikes and E-Webs.
Yeah.
Specifically, we're not going to talk about those in any of our unit spotlights, but we can save those for the roundtable, and you guys can tell us what combination thereof. And I think when we get in there, I'll ask Jace to talk a little bit more about his experience with the 4 bikes, because in the second list that we played on the weekend, we actually did a 2-bike 2 E-Web combo. So, and I think there is some room to be had in there. So okay, so I don't think Jason and I can say enough about the heavy response units, or the I call them heavy response units. Yeah, that's what they're called, heavy response units. Excuse me. I basically just want to call them a fire team. That's effectively what
pretty much what they are.
When I think about them, I think 0 to 2 is great. I don't think you can take more than that, in the sense that I mean, you can't take more than that, but I don't think they should have more than that, because I think it gets a little bit ridiculous after that. Exactly. But they have their place. There's certainly going to be a point of target priority if your opponent is looking to isolate them. I certainly was trying to mitigate them. Obviously, melee, they're going to be quite squishy. They can be susceptible to return fire, but they are behind red dice saves. So if you keep these guys in heavy cover and rely on average red dice, I think you'll keep them alive. And having the extra 2 bodies outside of the heavies is a really nice combination. We saw Jace sort of in the game lose a couple bodies, but still retain a lot of the fire ability that you have in this. And we'll talk a little bit more about the split fire potential, which is insane in this list. Obviously, in this unit, obviously you have up to 3 different separate split fires. And you can do them in any combination thereof, which is really good, coupled with one of the particular command cards.
Yeah, we'll definitely revisit it once we hit one of those specific command cards, because this unit was made for one of those cards.
Definitely. Well, let's jump in to talk a little bit about this as we'll get through. We'll probably brush through the next here in about 30 minutes or so. Let's talk a little bit, Jason. I'll let you highlight most of what you want to highlight here in terms of the
You bet.
ATST. Now, you ran it, and we did run it in
I did.
both of the lists on the weekend as well. It's base 155, and then obviously you can't take all of these upgrades, but I brought them in here just for a point of conversation. So we don't have to go over what the ATST has because I think most people know that. But why don't you focus specifically on both tactical use and some of the upgrades that you would recommend?
Yeah, so tactical use definitely in Blizzard Force. I mean, it pairs really well with just the range 4 potential of those heavy fire support teams we just looked at. They can all shoot range 4 very far. Ryan, I don't think Ryan understands how to run ATSTs because, yeah, okay. Um, the ATST in Blizzard Force has 2 pilots available. It lets you take Vice as a unique upgrade, and then you can take the Imperial Hammers pilot. I personally prefer the Hammers pilot over Vice just because the amount of times I roll surges with that thing, and I'm sure someone can go back and count on Friday, the amount of surges that I rolled that converted into hits because of that pilot easily made its 10 points back. Yeah. In my list, I took the mortar launcher on it, and then I took the twin light blaster. I think you always take the twin light blaster just because, I mean, it's 3 more dice. It's another rainbow, right? Brings you up to 9, which is really good. However, there were times partway through that I was kind of really wishing I had that grenade launcher just for the blast.
Yeah, I think it really depends on. Same thing with the mortar launcher. You had mortar launcher as well, did you not? Or on
I
yours?
did. I had the
Yeah.
I had the mortar and the blaster.
But I don't think you used the mortar very much, though, right? You were basically just going the.
I used it twice.
Okay, yeah. So 2 times out of the 6 turns on the weekend, the first game, Jace never used a mortar launcher at all. He just basically went with the twin light and the onboard gun. And then in the second game, we got rid of it entirely, just because he wasn't using it and still relied on the same 2. And he really found that was the best combination, as you pointed out. Another rainbow. Keep in mind, it is a range 1 to 3. A lot of people kind of get mixed up with that. The main gun is a 1 to 4, and the secondary gun is a 1 to 3. It's half the dice, but I don't think with speed 2 that ATST doesn't have a hard time bringing that range 3, targets into range 3 at all. So. I think I have a tendency to agree with you on the Imperial Hammers. Bernard pointing out that he really likes the Weiss Arsenal 4. I think that it can go off and it's fantastic. And I think there will be games where, if you have those weapons going off and you're just rolling a bunch of hits and not a lot of surges, you're not found wanting on those rolls that look like you got a ton of paint, and then you remove 6 or 7 surges out of the course of all Arsenal weapons going off. It feels it's kind of feels bad, but.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I do think the mortar is good for those beginning turns in long deployments where you've only got a range 4 shot, so you may as well take a mortar, right? Or you can shoot at something far on a back objective. Or if your opponent just has a lot of anti-armor. Like when I was playing Anthony's list, every single one of those pike units has a rifle with impact 1, and I really did not want to move my ATST out of my heavy cover and into range 3 where he just gets to roll a crap ton of dice. So the mortar launcher, it's good situationally. I mean, it's also cheap. It's like 5 points or something like that.
Right.
So
yeah, and I think I was just going to say, I think that you don't want to discount the fact that adding one more suppressive weapon into this arsenal that is Blizzard Force.
Yes.
Sometimes the one-off mortar shot in a list that otherwise isn't reaching you or doesn't have a pile of suppressive weapons isn't as influential. However, in this list, I think there's a compounding factor that makes the mortar launcher maybe potentially one of the better choices, if that's in fact how you want to run your ATSTs. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Now, my ATST did actually struggle Friday, but that was mostly just to the fact that Anthony could pile 3 to 4 dodges on each unit I was trying to shoot every turn.
Right.
So.
Now, I played Jace. I played against Jace twice with the same list, and again, he was just getting back into it, so I didn't want to change up a lot on my side and or his side, just for the interest of remembering things. But I played with him, against him, using Michael's round 2 Fluttercraft list, so triple Wookiees Fluttercrafts. Now, having to run into it to, I think the first one we did hostage exchange. We just randomed everything out of the pile. So I
Yeah.
said I don't want to take turn 0 because obviously I'm a little bit more versed in turn 0 than he is. So we random out all 3 cards, battlefield cards, both times. So getting hostage exchange wasn't super ideal, but having to chase down the hostage, just running after it and into this mouth of just fire was just
Yeah.
ridiculous. He blew a
Yeah.
fluttercraft off every single turn 1 through 3. Wookiees were just basically trying to run down. I think I finished the game with the chieftain on the table, and he was just a little bit shy. And because of that particular battlefield card that the command card we're going to play, even the unhindered chieftain was not able to keep up with stormtroopers, which is a feels bad. excuse me.
Yeah.
Moment given that card, and so definitely good card play potential there. And we talked through really everything, so I was almost literally feeding information for my own death. But that's what happens when you're doing teaching and learning games for sure. But yeah, I think there's some real interesting things when you get fed into this list, and I think it can pick you apart quite well. So having to go into the ATSD feels bad. Having it chase you down, as you mentioned, with a bunch of dodges, maybe you're feeling all right. If you have an answer to it, I didn't really have an answer to armor, so I just chose not to shoot it for 2 games. And basically in your game, Anthony chose to leave it alone most of the time as well, I think. So
Yeah, he did.
But yeah, the ATST, maybe not everyone's flavor in their list, but certainly has its place, and you can take 2 of them if you like. So let's
also
go ahead.
Yeah. Also, Tom, you can take ARBMAB on an ST, but you can't in Blizzard Force, which is why we're not going to be talking about ARBMAB.
Right. Yes, just some of the choices that you can and can't make. So again, this is not an exhaustive list of everything that you can take, all the upgrades, and as we move over to Veers here, this is certainly not all the upgrades. This is just some that we wanted to talk about in highlights for specific reasons. So again, Jace, why don't you do the same thing here with Veers? You did take Veers, so
I did. I was originally trying to take Vader, and I could not find a way that I liked making Vader fit with 4 bikes and with the command card situation, which we'll get to later. So I swapped to Veers, and Veers worked amazingly. I did take improvised orders on my Veers, and it worked. I used it probably 3 out of my 6 turns, and it switched when I pulled something I didn't want, all 3 times pulled it to something I wanted, mostly due to the fact that I had 2 types of orders in my bag, split at about a 3 to 4 ratio. So it was pretty good. You could take aggressive tactics on Veers in this list, although I'm not very keen on it, depending on what else you take in the list. I mean, if you're taking a lot of bikes, you don't really care. They surge either way, and they're probably what you want to order. You're taking an ST, well, you've probably got a link targeting array, and that's what you want to order, and it probably surges both ways as long as you took the hammer pilot.
right.
But if you're loading up on snows and core and stuff like that, then yeah, aggressive tactics might not be a bad choice. Just give you some better defense, right? I mean, defense on those heavy response teams would be amazing.
There might be a world where you don't take Vader's 2-pip for the surge as well. And I know that might not be the most popular choice, but we'll get into talking about the 2-pips. But there may be a world where you don't take it.
Yeah, you mean his Darkness Descends?
Correct. Yes.
I think that's a 3-pip.
Oh, it's 3-pip. Sorry, it's 3-pip. Yeah. Darkness Descends. Not taking the reliable 2. And sorry, the 3-pip, not 2-pip. But yes, because that 3-pip slot is quite competitive for a number of reasons, and we'll get into that conversation. So, and I'm prepared to debate. But if you do take Veers with the aggressive tactics, it may be a way to mitigate some of that. At least get Vader half of those surges back. So.
Yeah, I will say though, Veers with his spotter handing out aims to an ATST and heavy response teams. Oh man, those heavy response teams hit hard when you got 6 dice at range 4 with an aim.
There was in the second game that we played. Obviously, we made some tweaks. Jace ran actually just double generic commander, both with electro binoculars, and having 2 sources, 2 separate sources of inspire throughout the turn. Obviously, different timing windows, and then 2 sources of spotter 2. Also with the double heavy response teams, as well as the he was running eWeb platforms as well as the ATST. So having all those extra aims did feel really good, especially where sometimes you may be losing actions on some of those units. And because he was running the HH12 variants, he was often doing a recover shoot with some of the units, and so just having the ability to have one or two aims in addition to the recover shoot every time really felt quite nice. So yeah, Veer's at 75 points, and let's not forget that he brings along that command card if you so choose to have that
Yep,
nice bombardment, right? And
he does.
that coupled with the additional bombardment that now comes in the form of Blizzard Force, and I dare say it's two bombardments. So having
Yep.
three bombardments with Veers is an awful good combination to have. And in a list that seemingly has no shortage of ranged attacks, having 3 4 to infinite ranged attacks feels really good. And so there is that, and obviously he couples that with the sharpshooter. I believe he can use the sharpshooter of Veers
Yes.
on that shot. So having a beam blast
Although
suppressive.
um he doesn't care about sharpshooter on the second shot because of
That's true.
blast
That's
though.
true because it is blast. That's right. Beam
Yeah.
blast suppressive, and yeah, all the great things. Although his precise would
And
also
surge hit.
trigger, right? And his precise would also trigger off that. Because he is
Yes, because
precise. Yes,
that's a unit keyword. Yeah.
correct. Yeah, so there is all of that. So, yeah. Anyone not bringing binoculars with Veers? I'm not sure if there's anybody not bringing, but again, it depends on points. But yeah, I think binoculars on him for increased spotter potential feels really good. So, and again, he's backed by red dice, so he's a little bit squishy. He can be potentially bounty worthy in the fact that we do have a proliferation of bounty right now. But if you can keep him alive and keep him kind of tucked in, he's definitely more of a backline unit than lead the way from the front. So I think there is a world where he can sort of stay guarded, and obviously you can insulate him with a few other units. So maybe Vader even. So speaking of Vader, Jace, let's slide over. Let's talk a
You
little bit
bet.
about Vader at 1990. We're talking about Commander Vader here. Yes, you can take
Yep.
Operative Vader, but we cannot talk about every unit on one show because then the shows get too long. So this may not be Blizzard Force only conversation. This may be part one of our Blizzard Force conversation. So yeah, so having a look at him, Compel Core Trooper, great addition to Vader with his
Amazing.
deflect, Master of the Force 1, Relentless, all the great things that he has. Obviously, he is a melee attack beast. Some of the upgrades potential that you might want to see on him is Force Push, Burst of Speed, Choke, Saber Throw, and possibly even Improvised Orders, depending on what variant you're running and how many additional commanders you have in there. Sort of what configuration you have, whether you have good bag control or a bit of a mix mash. But what do you think, Jace, in terms of options? I know you didn't get him in your list, but what are your go-to force powers for Vader?
Oh, especially Commander Vader.
Yep,
Burst of speed is without a doubt
for sure.
necessary.
Yep,
Until we have like dark troopers that'll just immobilize him every
yeah,
turn and
or
keep him
Din,
stuck.
or Din, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, or Din.
perfect. You
Yep.
did burst of speed, great. You can stay right there,
Yeah.
Vader, for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry,
Until
Din's the
you
one I
kill me.
meant. Yep. Just
Yep,
yeah, exactly. Um, because of Relentless, I'll always take Saber Throw, just because you're giving up a free attack every turn if you don't have Saber Throw.
right.
And then I like to take Push, just because Push is so strong for the objective play and just
Mhm.
for keeping himself safe.
Yep.
And then I'll usually just give him Vigilance to try to keep dodge tokens around, make him more survivable. That's my favorite Vader build.
Right. Yeah, and you ran some vigilance in with your Veers, and some people were asking you questions around that. I think anytime you can keep dodge is great. Again, you'll find those sort of sweet spot combinations, and depending, I think this list is very dependent on what you take around it. So there's not going to necessarily all
Yeah.
like the be like I always must take because I've taken. I think it's going to be largely contingent on everything that you've built around. So I agree with the burst of speed. I think that's a great way to get Vader in. Force push, I like that because of the sheer manipulation, right? Both from installation standpoint, a push off objective, a manipulate and push, a push into standbys, a push into the open with heavy response units, maybe be able to hit or push into range. There's all kinds of things you can do with force push here. Saber throw, as Jay's pointed out, it's decent at 3 red. Doesn't get you over cover, which is sometimes some of the little nuances of saber throw that sometimes you're found a little wanting. But Because you're just moving, and if you can't reach somebody, why not have an attack? Because every attack that hits, has potential to do damage. So, so there's that. Let's not forget the infinite courage bubble. Potentially one of the best things here with Vader. So if you want to keep Blizzard Force on the table, why not do it with an infinite courage commander? And perhaps highlighted even more is the fact that you are going to be using this exact tactic against your opponent, who likely doesn't have infinite courage. So your suppression is going to be mitigated on your side in terms of running away, and sort of exasperated on the other side, given the fact that all the units that you have are going to be great in terms of either being suppressive natively, having suppressive because of a keyword, or just simply the fact that you can split fire and put multiple targets per turn with shots on them, in the fact that you may have an ATST or multiple heavy response units, or even impact snow frag grenades. Impact, not impact, frag, snow, and flame, or maybe you are running the impact version. Pally made a point last night that maybe do you want to run even the imploders on snow troopers for having one more suppressive, having a suppressive grenade, having the flame thrower, having the white dice that you can shoot, like even snows with grenades can triple split fire. So having all kinds of them feel really good. If you got 3 or 4 units of those, I know Brian's talking about maybe even 5 units of them. There's just so many things. And again, with steady, the ability to move, and potentially the ability to move even faster with spur. There's all kinds of ways to get shot. So if you haven't faced Blizzard Force, be prepared to be hit a lot against this force. So. Yeah, so there's Vader. So Jace, given the choice, if you had to number those 3 units, in terms of your 1, 2, 3 being the ATST, Veers, and Vader, who's going to be kind of your number one include? Who are you going to build a force around more times than not?
Veers.
Okay, and then second?
100%. I would probably do Vader.
Okay, and are you going to do Vader Veers builds? Is that something that you think you might explore?
Probably not. Just because, you definitely could. But if I'm taking Vader, I'd probably just take a generic officer for cheaper. I think
the command card conversation will help highlight maybe the reasons why you're not specifically doing that. So, yeah. And then what about, is there a world where you're being real brave, and are you running a Vader ATST in the same list?
Very, very unlikely, but I'm not that brave.
Yeah, fair enough. So, all right,
I'll leave that for Anthony.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. That's almost like running. It's almost like running 2 heavies. Vader's like a heavy, isn't he? Feels like it.
Pretty much.
Okay, well let's get into this, and maybe we'll get through this and get to our round table here in the next 15 or 20 minutes. But let's talk a little bit about Blizzard Force in terms of the command card, and we'll break these down. Now, we've talked about these, so we don't have to go ad nauseum into them. But let's highlight specifically maybe some points around, because you did get a chance to use them, and I've also seen them used against me. Let's talk a little bit about Unrelenting Fire here, the 1 pip that issues to 2 units. And by the way, the fact that these cards have so much control is an underlying underrated value, I think, of these cards specifically.
100%.
But a 1 pip going to 2 units is Blizzard Force only, obviously. Enemy units cannot remove more than 1 suppression token during their rally step. Now, this is both from the roll. So even if they roll out multiple suppression, like paint, they can only remove 1, according to what this card says.
Yeah, sorry, Indomitable Wookiees.
Really good. And the fact that it has control, and it's an enemy effect. It's on your enemy's units, and it's all the units that have suppression on them. So
there's no range.
No, exactly.
It's just table wide.
Yes.
Table wide.
So this card here, we'll get into obviously combinations, but some of the great plays, this following up a Master of Evil play feels really good. This following a turn where you've put out a whack ton of suppression, or shot many suppressive weapons, or perhaps just have really ganged up on one particular unit that you're like, you're not going to take off cards. This in terms of putting suppression on units like an Anakin, for example, who really wants to shed a bunch of suppression so not to get flawed the following turn. There's all kinds of plays with this particular card. I really like this 1-pip.
I think it's great.
Yeah, and not to foreshadow too much, but I think I'm including this in my Blizzard Force just because I think it synergizes well with many, many other units. Gotta like the double flamethrower snowtroopers here in the card art as well. So,
Yeah.
Jace, did you find that it was particularly valuable in your game?
Well, so when I used it in my game, I actually used it to save one of my units from getting aim shot at by a full, or I guess they lost one or two models by then, but it was still a 3-man Black Sun unit, like right up in me. So I basically played this card because he had 3 suppression, and I was like, no way are you going to clear down to get 2 actions.
Right.
So you can either shoot me in the heavy cover without an aim and then stand there yourself, or you can move into base contact of where I can just back on up.
Right. Yeah, I don't think this card's so much used for trying to force panics. Although you certainly could be doing that, you'd have to have a really successful previous turn to get multiple units to do that. But I think that exactly the point that Jace just made, that real shutdown play, that I'm not going to allow you to have multiple actions or potentially no actions, and you're going to run away by playing this. And the fact that it's a 1-pip even further allows you to potentially outpip your opponent, and if you want to, just for funsies, add another 2 or 3 suppression potentially onto a unit based on whatever you can do, or maybe they can't pull that, or for whatever reason that unit is not able to go their first activation. You're really able to pile on that suppression. So I like this one for many reasons. So let's have a look at the next.
I think it's great.
Let's have a look at the next one here. They really focused in on the snowtroopers, which is fitting for the Blizzard Force here. Overwhelming Barrage. Again, another 2-unit 2-pip. Really like this one here as well. Once this round, at the end of the activation of a friendly commander unit, it may perform an attack using the following weapons. It's 4 to infinite range, 4 black, surge hit. It's blast, beam 1, immune deflect, and suppressive.
And it has surge to hit. So if you use it with Vader, you get a surge conversion.
That's fair. That's fair. The surge conversion is great. Now, if you use it with Veers, you're going to get surge crit conversion on this, or you don't. You'd only get the surge hit because this is his weapon.
I think you only get the surge hit. It's kind of weird because this is the only card that we've seen that has a surge conversion on the command card.
I think Orbital Strike does though too, doesn't it?
No, Orbital Strike just uses his surge to crit.
Okay. I thought Orbital Strike did as well. I'm not wrong, Ryan. I was stating the fact that I believe that you're only going to be. I was just asking the question to pose the point. So, but fair. Yeah. Thanks for the correction. The point on here, being for this is that really it reads as 1-shot, but you can't overlook that beam, because there's a great potential that it's going to be 2. And Sean Desk just getting the point in here right now that strike teams be wary. I was having this conversation yesterday, and I think that there's a little bit of a scare factor now with the Blizzard Force, in the fact that you now have to respect the fact that if you take Veers, you very well may have 3. So your strike teams are at any point in this game very vulnerable, and it's not only going to be to the turn 1. So you could also bluff and not open with either one of these. You could in fact bluff and never have had this in your hand at all. But you're still going to have to respect the fact that it can come out in your arsenal. And 4 to infinite feels really good. Strike teams at most are going to generally be at that range anyway. So there's not really a play around this other than the fact that you might just want to hide your units. And maybe you only, you corner peek and all that great stuff. But let's not forget that this beam, excuse me, does get to reach out to a range 1 off that first target. So I like this. The blast is great. Forget about that low profile, all that business that you might get otherwise. There's a massive amount of potential with this card, and coupled with Veers, very, very scary. In your game, Jace, did you get this off with great effect?
Oh, I did. Anthony completely forgot I played this card turn 2.
Yep.
Put his Bosk up on top of that ATST body, and I hit Bosk for his last 2 wounds and killed him with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Seems to be some conversation whether Veer's Surge Crit overrides this
Yeah.
or not, but that remains to be seen. I think that the weapon keyword
Yeah.
is on there for a reason. If it does, great. If it does, it's obviously a bump. But the mere fact that it's Surge hit with Blast doesn't really matter. It's going to come down to whether the dodge tokens can be spent potentially on units or not. But yeah, this is still deadly. I think the fact that 2 bombards can exist in the same list with Veers is actually really, really scary. And even better, you don't even have to have both to present that threat. But let me ask you this, Jace, before we even get into the next conversation. Are you taking this 2-pip in all accounts, or is there going to be a world where you maybe aren't going to take this particular one?
I always want to take this card.
Right. Do you feel like there's maybe a potential timing window, though, if you're running Commander Vader, and you are almost forced to open up with this early, just given the fact where Vader's likely going to be?
I don't think so. I mean, Vader's slow enough that I'm okay playing this round 2.
Okay, yep.
If I got a good shot round 1, then yeah, I'll take it. Vader's probably far enough away that he's going to be safe.
Yeah.
If I have to wait till round 2 till I've got some surge tokens, got some defense going, I'm
You're
fine
okay
with
with
that.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm very okay with playing a 3-pip and then a 2-pip and holding it for later.
Same logic applies, that I think people should be very cautious that because there's a Vader on the table, don't assume that this card isn't taken and that people are just taking all of Vader's cards. Blizzard Force, I think in most times when I see Vader, I feel quite confident in generally feeling like most of the command cards are going to be Vader's. I don't think that's going to hold true in Blizzard Force, given the power of the cards that are here. And maybe that makes hard choices for Vader, but I don't think the hard choice is putting you at a detriment, because I think the cards overwhelmingly support the base of your army. They just don't specifically support Vader, although given the fact that they're unit, and unit, there's still room to control Vader, which is probably another inherent benefit of these cards. So having a look at the third one before we get into deciding on our 1, 2, and 3 pips, and then we'll get all the voices in, of which include Ryan, to tell us all the things that they think and why everyone needs to play E-Webs. Debark for ground assault. So this is 3 units.
Before we move into the 3-pip, I will say on the AMG rules forum, this question was asked, and Veers can choose to use either his natural surge or the card surge. So Veers can surge to crit with the card.
Fair enough. Well, it's fair to pose the question then. So
yeah,
I wasn't sure. Like I said, I didn't feel like it would be wrong to ask the question.
Yep.
I would be
big
fine
thanks
with it
to
was.
Big thanks to Andrew in the chat for pointing that out.
Well, there you go. Well, I'm also corrected in the fact that you can for sure, because I wasn't sure you could. But there you have it. So argument done. Moving on to Debark for ground assault. So why we have the best chat.
My favorite card of the 3.
Each friendly trooper unit that is issued an order using this card, so that card text is in there, so you're going to get 3 units issued, all of which do not have to be core, but if they are a core, they will gain the additional benefit of gaining spur. Each weapons, then this is separate, new paragraph. The weapons of each friendly trooper, core trooper unit that is issued an order using this card. So again, if you issue to multiple core units, they would get this secondary benefit. They also gain suppressive. Indeed, this card has 2. I think if you left it with 1 and or second paragraph, the card is good. With both, the card 100%. Is great.
Amazing.
Great. So we're talking about snowtroopers spurring to speed 2. We're talking about stormtroopers spurring to speed 3.
We're talking about heavy response teams
units spurring to 3
through difficult terrain
with unhindered.
Oh,
yes.
Man, I caught Anthony with that so hard on Friday.
Yeah, and again, going back to the very first thing we said about heavy response units, do not overlook the fact that they have unhindered on that unit.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's a great keyword for them specifically. Coupled with this card, it's even better. coupled with the fact that you can spur the unit even better.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
having a unit come from outside of a range 5 range band, spur through the range 5 range band into a range 4 range band, and then dumping 6 dice at range 4 on you. By the way, it's now suppressive.
yeah.
Feels really, really good. Doing that with 3 units, obviously you can only do that with 2 heavy response units and some other unit, potentially snowtroopers. But snowtroopers with steady, spurring twice its speed 2 to then drop a flamer on you, or potentially drop a flamer frag on you, or potentially drop flamer frag plus regular gun on 3 different units, and all 3 gaining suppressive. Perhaps doing that 3 times with snowtroopers and all 3 of them split firing 3 times. And now you've just put, in the course of a turn, put out 9 suppressive attacks off 3 core units, not counting any of your heavy response units, not counting an ATSD if you have one. Incredible. And perhaps the next turn you play Master of Evil. And perhaps the turn after that you play, you can only get rid of 1 suppression. The combination of that is very, very deadly. Now that's going to form the foundation for the next and final segment, kind of where we're going to get in, and then we're going to open this wide up because I think Blizzard Force has all kinds of things to talk about, and all kinds of flavors. So he's working on Gar Saxon.
Actually, I finished Gar.
Oh, now so okay, is he done?
I finished Gar, and I'm working on my Shadow Collective core. So I built them all. I built Rook, and now I'm working on the Super Commandos. And I just have to say, this is the 3rd week in a row Ryan has spelt my name a different way, and he has yet to spell it correct.
Yeah. That's fair. There's no RR.
It's not on every. It's not on every Friday Night Fight battle report thumbnail.
Yeah, that's fair. Or the one he was just on casting.
Yeah.
Okay, Jace, let's have a look at 1 pips now. Full caveat, because Pally already asked me in the group chat. Not an exhaustive list. This is not every 1 pip you can take. This is a plethora of 1 pips, some of which I think are worthy of the conversation. All 1 pips are worthy of conversation to start. These are ones that I think will factor into the calculus that Jason and I have either played with, experienced, or talked about. So that is the reasoning for these 4 that are on here. So for the purposes of argument, let's talk about these in particular here. Jace, you give. I'll let you go first on the 1 pips. I'll go on the 2 pips. You can go on the 3 pips, and then we'll decide if we're going to argue back and forth on them. Now, you don't have to tell me what your whole army configuration is. We're not going to get into that now, but I will probably know if you take a Vader card that you have Vader. If you'll assume if I take a Veers card, I have Veers. So you're not subject on the 1s or the 2s or the 3s to be pigeonholed into those. But given the fact that you got a wide table here, what 1 pips are you taking?
So I'm going to give you 2 sets. If I am taking Vader, I'm taking Unrelenting Fire and Implacable.
Yep.
If I'm taking Veers, I'm taking Maximum Firepower and Unrelenting Fire. No matter what, I'm taking that Blizzard Force specific command card.
Okay, give me the first one again. If you take who, you're taking what?
If I take Vader, I will take Implacable and Unrelenting Fire, and I'm leaving Vader's Might at home.
Okay. And then if you take Veers, you're taking Maximum and you're taking Unrelenting Fire.
Yes.
Okay. I think I am going to fall into the category, as much as I really like Veers, I think if I'm going to play a Force user, and I don't, this particular build might be the one that gets me to get Vader off the shelf and use him. And I will fall into the category of Implacable and Unrelenting Fire as well. I think that coupled with what we're going to see, and coupled with the fact that you can have multiple suppressive weapons, Unrelenting Fire to me is too good to leave at home. And given the fact that I want to be as obnoxious with suppression as possible, I want to do that. Having Vader go twice in any round is too big of a power play to leave, on the side shelf. And I think that how this force can work based on how you can build around it with snowtroopers, I think having Vader up close doing all the things is going to be of value, and I don't want to have him lingering in the back line at all. I think I want to press him hard and press for the
Yeah.
advantage early. So,
If I'm taking Vader, I'm probably taking a bunch of snows and just pushing them all.
yeah. Well, Ryan, you can ask us in the chat later. Why not take ambush? Well, just because I think that ambush is not as good as either one of those for that,
Exactly.
for sure. But yeah, I'm with you on the implacable, unrelenting fire. I'm not against Veers, but I don't think I'm taking him, to be perfectly honest. All right, let's slide over to 2 pips, setting the stage for our conversations. Like I said, you guys can have all the opinions and feel free to share all of them. So, all right, Jace, well, let's go down this track here with the 2 pips. I will go first on the 2 pips because I asked you to go first. I'm going to take, in this particular build that I'm thinking, I'm going to take Overwhelming Barrage.
Yeah.
And yes, I potentially am taking Vader and can get the shots off. And the reason I asked you is, are you pigeonholed into opening up with this on turn 1? I'll tell you right now, I think I'll still open up with this on turn 1 because I still think there's lots of potential to have this shot be great. Mitigating units with single courage, potential actions off the hop, forcing strike teams to hide,
Yeah.
all those things. Maybe obviously in a limited visibility world, I'm not opening up to this, but and maybe it's not as great in that particular condition. Although the whole force, I think, benefits from limited visibility potentially as well if you're running a particular build. And then based on that, I'm probably actually going to run New Ways on this. It is 2 troopers. But having non-Vader troopers suffer a wound and getting a free action, um, I don't know. I think like the potential of having snows do things, the potential of having even a heavy fire support team do things. I know that you don't want to wound that unit too much, but it does have a couple extra bodies in there.
It
And
does.
if you do bring medics in this force, there is a world where you can just bring them back. And having snowtroopers go extra, an extra free move and getting a shot feels quite good, particularly if they're in a position where they can just move and steady and triple split fire and do things. Feels really really good. So I think I'm taking New Ways and Overwhelming Barrage.
Yeah, interesting. So if I'm going to continue on just on my Veers build since you got the Vader build. I'm going to go down. So if I'm taking Veers, I'm going to take Overwhelming Barrage because I want the double/triple tap
Yep.
bombardment. I mean, 90 points of Veers to do 3 attacks like that. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yep.
And then with Veers, I'm probably taking Pin Down. I'm taking Veers. I've probably got some support.
I think Jace might have disappeared there for a second, so we'll see if he pops back in. We have a little bit of a system here in the area, so sounded like he was going to take Pin Down, and I think Jace is leaning towards that ATST build, having the ability to split fire some shots, removing some tokens, and just simply the fact that you have that the bikes in the list, and I think he's maybe going to talk a little bit about having the bikes versus the e-webs. Now, Jace on the Friday Night Fights version did run 4 bikes, and I think he really thoroughly enjoyed that. I played against both 4 bikes as well as 4 bikes and 2 e-webs. The pin down play is good, although what I've found with pin down is that you're a little bit and Jace has fully disappeared there, so he'll probably call back in a second. I think you're a little bit reliant on the fact that your opponent's going to need to issue orders to multiple units where this is actually going to kick in and feel like you have sort of stomped on your opponent's plan. So I feel like pin down is more situational. I don't know if I get as much out of it, particularly not in a Vader build for sure. There's Jace calling back in. Hey, Jace.
Hey, am I back? There we go.
You are. Yeah. I was just sort of finishing your thought on what I believed you thought about pin down being valued in terms of running it with bikes and or with the
Yes.
ATST. So Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm running bikes or ATSDs, those are probably the units I care to order, either due to link targeting arrays or because I want to get those bikes in and out as quick as I can without them getting shot.
Right. Yep. No, fair. Yeah, Ryan also spelling your name wrong and believing that you got kicked out, as karma would imply. So
Actually, Ryan, my internet disconnected, but nice try.
fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, happens when I hit that big red button that says disconnect.
Yeah.
Let's have a look here at the 3-pip. Jace, you're going to go first on this one.
Yeah.
Now Jace might go a little bit off the board here if he's going to continue with his Veers build, but because I did not choose Imperial Discipline, although Jace may find himself picking that one. So
Yeah, it's interesting because the Veers build really depends on what I'm bringing, hey? Because if I'm bringing, because you can bring Veers with a whole bunch of core and try to shoot with them. However, I don't think that's the best build you want. You're probably wanting to go with bikes,
right.
considering you can take 4 of them with Veers. You definitely want Debark for ground assault, just because that is amazing. But I mean, you could take Snows. I was also looking at this. You could take Snows with the ion gun.
Yep.
And then heavy response teams.
Yep.
And coordinated fire, and the amount of aims that, like, you use those Snows, they shoot at range 4, pass aims over to the response teams. Use the response teams, pass it to Snows that are closer and maybe in flamer range or in range 3 to shoot with their full fire. I mean, coordinated fire is not a bad choice.
Yep.
So I might go for coordinated fire here.
I might go a little off the board here, and I know darkness is strong, and having reliable 2 is great, and the potential to infiltrate, all that good stuff. But I think for me, I'm gonna go Debark for ground assault and Master of Evil. I think the synergies are there with the ability to increase your suppressive weapons, the ability to mitigate suppression removal, the ability to apply massive amounts of suppression with an early press from a Vader. And the ability to mitigate your impacts of suppression on your army, given the fact that you have an infinite courage Vader. So I know that the darkness is strong in terms of having that reliable, and I know Vader is definitely a linchpin in here. But I think I'm going to press the suppression advantage, because I don't think there's as much inherent damage or potential damage to Vader if you have multiple units losing actions or feeling like they're pressured in any given scenario. And the second you start taking away the ability for your opponent to be offensive, and they have to make tough choices between shooting and moving, and certainly between aiming and shooting if they don't have the potential to aim, then I think that the damage mitigation is there inherently in the fact that you're mitigating actions. And I think the best way to do this in combination with what I've selected is Master of Evil, followed by the 1-pip where you can't remove the suppression.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that's where I'm at. And Ryan, I think my point is I'm actually saying by these choices that I don't think Vader is a one-man army, and I think that I'm actually taking cards that are more built around the core of the army, and the core is, confusing words here, is the core. And so having things like the 2-pip there, the new ways to motivate, having things like Debark for ground assault, where I am able to control and able to really press the advantage of the core units. Vader is there, and Vader needs to be dealt with more times than not. Vader as a great commander, but not necessarily solely fixated on him. And given that I have 3 other cards that are generic, and so if Vader dies, I'm not going out with a mitt full of Vader cards. And certainly I hope that I would have most of them off. So for me, I know that darkness is strong, and I know it's almost an auto-include in most Vader builds, but for me, I don't think it is in this particular Battle Force. So that's kind of where I'm at. So yeah, but we're prepared to be debated on all things, Jace. So
We are.
Yeah. So is there a world? I'm not sure. Did you say anything about Imperial Discipline? Do you feel like before we get into let's jump back to the booth here for a second. We'll just chit chat a little bit here. Where are you settled out on the combination of supports? Are you thinking 4 bikes is the way to go? Do you like the 2-bike 2 E-Web? Are you 3 bikes? Do you need to max the core? Do you need to max the support slot? Where are you at?
It's interesting because I think there's so many things you can do with it. I mean, 4 bikes is of course fun. I mean, you put them all on one flank, and that's a lot of shots coming in at you, a lot of wounds, a lot of cover. But I mean, if you take a core heavy army,
Yep.
4 E-webs too, or a mix of bikes and E-webs, but like especially just 4 E-webs. Like that's a lot of firepower that they can put down. They're still red saves. They're still, what are they? They're 4 health.
E-webs?
Yeah.
E-webs are, yes, they are.
Yeah, I mean, with those saves, that's still pretty chunky. Like they got health, they got survivability. Um,
If
it's
I will address the rumor. If they go to range
mhm.
4, they're an entirely different
Auto
beast.
include.
They're an entirely different beast to talk about. But let's be very clear. They are currently not range 4. We only play right now Legion. We don't play future Legion.
Yeah,
Um, that's why when we had Blizzard Force initially released, we gave some impressions, but really we couldn't give tangible information. We're giving tangible information based on the limited interactions of 3 that we've had with the list. We reserve the right to change our opinion, but right now our opinion about E-webs is subject to the fact that they're range 3, plain and simple.
yeah. And I mean, even mobile light cover in front of the rest of your army isn't the worst thing ever.
Right. It's not. I think that they still suffer from a little bit of the cumbersome, and
They do,
not so much
most
in the way
definitely.
that the HH12 will. Only because I think that once you establish the fire base on them, because they are a range 4 weapon, they're a little bit more versatile in given the fact that E-webs are 3. They do take a couple turns, I feel like, to position. They're great backliners. They're great shut down a lane. They have their job and they do it well. Pretty survivable behind red dice for sure. But right now, I think the bikes have the distinct advantage in the list for
Yes.
sure. But yeah, I think that E-webs could find their place in that range 4. It's an entirely different calculus, right? Like if
Oh,
it's like
100%.
anything, if you change or add something to a unit, generally have to take another look at it, right? So I think there's all kinds of data to back that up when units are changing. I think evidence is in our banned vote right now, where FD cannons are getting votes, and 6 months ago FD cannons somebody wouldn't even know what slot they fall in. So
Yeah.
so as soon as a unit sort of changes or adds or gets a different effect or is played with some reliability, then suddenly everything about that unit changes. So including its prevalence on the table. So. Okay, well we've reached that time. It's an hour 40 minutes. It'll take 20 minutes of Jeez, Ryan is full of hot takes tonight in chat. So we'll put this up. We reserve the right to mitigate time. In fact, I might even set myself a timer here so that I can boot people after no more
Ryan.
than 5 minutes. It's just a Ryan timer basically, but I will set it. So I will put it on there. I will set it up. I will get this rolling here. There we go. I'll pause the timer. We'll reset it, and then when they come in, we'll do that. Of course, if it's anybody but Ryan, we'll give them extended time if need be. But here we go. All right, there it is. Come tell us all about your Blizzard Force. We'll keep it about Blizzard Force tonight. Both interactions, hot takes, opinions, command card choices, units that you want to take, how excited you are to play it or not play against it. All things Blizzard Force related are open for discussion for the next 18 minutes or so. Meanwhile, Jace is continuing to assemble some stuff, and I will try
Oh
to
man,
assemble
I am.
two more staps. I put some staps together last night. I didn't have any instructions, so mine ended up looking way different than the box art. But nonetheless, they're fun. So
I heard box art's overrated.
yeah. No 501st conversation tonight. No.
Yeah,
We will
we will save that
reserve.
for the
You bet.
501st
All right,
box
here
talk.
comes Pally. We'll assign Pally to spot. There we go. We'll remove him from the green room. There we go, and we'll put him into guest 2, and then we'll put him on the screen. All right, Pally, you're on the clock. Tell us all the things, because here comes somebody else right after you. Oh, look, it's Andrew, not Ryan. So Ryan, you're gonna have to
Oh,
hold. All right, Pally, go ahead. You are on the clock. Oh, we cannot hear Pally though, because Pally is quiet for some reason. All right, Pally.
Pally, stop muting yourself.
We can hear you there.
Yeah. Okay, good. I like Blizzard Force a lot, and I won't talk about it, but I like Echo-based defenders a lot too.
You're pretty quiet though, Pally, I think.
I don't change.
Just a little echoey.
We also
Through this camera, and I just don't know how to fix it.
okay. Well, go ahead. We can still hear you somewhat.
Okay. Just closer. Does this help?
A little bit. Yep.
I like the Blizzard Force a lot, and I won't get into it, but I like Echo-based defenders a lot. They have interesting things they do. Blizzard Force specifically really brings back that classic old school Imperial suppression gameplay that kind of died off after a while. So I won't play Blizzard Force or Echo-based defenders just because I don't want to go and acquire all of the models for more factions. But it leaves me excited for things to come instead of upset for reasons that we're not talking about tonight. So
we will invite you back for the 501st conversation.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, they definitely captured the feel of Echo Base. They brought back that old gameplay that had died off, and they showed us that they can just print new-ish units for Legion to let us use old models. Which I hope they do more of, because I think out of everything I've seen, that's probably one of my favorite bits of the Battle Forces is just, hey, here's a new unit that you get to play with.
Well, I like that you said that because Jace, when he came back, who hasn't played for a while, came back and he had a look at that and he went away feeling really excited. The fact that he didn't have to leave and buy a single model. He's like, hey, I actually have all this stuff and I like how it works together. And now I can go away. And he was excited just to use what he had, and he didn't leave. He wasn't found wanting when he left, and he didn't have that thing like, well, in order to be good, I have to get this, this, and this. He just had all the tools, and they're just using a different combination. It's like he turned the wrench around and was using the real end now to make that tool effective. So yeah, I'm glad that you said that.
Oh, absolutely. I do believe AMG is watching things. And I hope that we can. Maybe. I probably more tournament data, but maybe the stream.
Fair enough.
There was some statistics of Battle Force win rates that came out of LSO, and I'm hoping they said that Battle Forces aren't meant to be competitive, but I think that they've shown that they can be. So maybe with some tweaking and tuning, not only for existing ones, but future Battle Forces, they could provide interesting options outside of just the standard list build for competitive events. I don't want to see them take over, and I don't want to see them necessarily be better than, but I like when we have side grade options.
Right. No, feels good.
So.
Okay.
And yeah, that's fantastic. What about you, Andrew?
All right, look at that. He only used 3 minutes. We're putting Andrew on the clock. Andrew gets the clock. Go ahead, Andrew. It's all you. You got 5 minutes or less to share all your thoughts.
Thanks. Yeah, so to piggyback off what Pally said about LSO, if memory serves me correct, I believe after day one, 2 of the top 10 slots were Battle Forces. I think one, the Empire Battle Force with the 4 bikes had first place overall after day one, and then I think Florf had the Luke Skywalker massive 3-pip list that got 10th, I think, also for LSO. So I think, as Pally says, it shows that these things can be competitive. And I was listening to you guys talk about the command cards. I agree with most of you, especially with Sean talking about Vader. I had the same opinion. Like when I was building for a friend the Battle Force for Blizzard Force, I was like, I'm looking at the Vader cards. I'm like, the way the Battle Force runs, I don't think I want to take 6. It doesn't feel like Vader needs all 6 of his command cards. I feel like Vader, as we discussed before, Vader is more of a, as Sean said, Jason push him up the field, like with spur or compel, just get him up the field. So Yeah, and before I really love this Battle Force. A lot of different directions you can go, especially with like Vader. You want a more core focused army. I feel with Veers, you can go either the 4 bikes or the way I built for my guys for my play group. I built a double ATSD list
Yep.
to be able to. Yeah, it's. I played up against it the first time, and oh my goodness, those things just ran me to the ground. I was playing Echo Base against it, and those ATSD just blasted me to the ground. It was not fun between the two overwhelming barrages and the ATSDs. Holy cow, that's a lot of firepower just to rain down. And Veers is pouring out all those aims with spotter. You're almost guaranteed to at least get at least 50%, 60% of your dice to connect, for sure.
I think that Blizzard Force brings a unique element to the game that we have not seen. We've seen a coordinated bombardment, we've seen orbital strike, we've seen maximum firepower, we've seen a single timing window of a devastating long-ranged shot that hurts strike teams and or other things, basically for less models. We have not seen a list that does that 2 times potentially in a game and up to 3 times, or have up to 3 targets. So that is kind of a unique problem. Another thing that we haven't seen before, we've started to see with the Invasion Force, was the issue and get the kind of the additional moves with your core units of Speed 1. We've seen a No Time for Sorrows. We've seen some of this movement. We have not seen a card that comes out and issues multiple units, multiple speed moves, and in fact increases their speed with such distance, and coupled with Unhindered. The end cap rush with that card coupled with the forces that are in that is incredible, both to run back to a back cap or even to sprint from a mid-range cap to a back cap of your opponent. So there's lots of threat potential in that card, and we're talking about a force that includes both of these potential threats. And I think that's what's really unique about Blizzard Force, is it's going to be a puzzle that we have not played against many times that we need to solve. And given the fact that you have 2 sort of unique leaders that can be in that force and can be in the force together, the guessing in the combination of command cards becomes infinitely harder to predict. So, yeah, I like Blizzard Force for all the reasons that it presents really unique challenges, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's maybe Echo Base comes close, but I think this is the most diverse of the possibilities of the 4 battle forces. Because with the variety of commanders and their own playstyles between Veers and Vader, whether you go lean into the heavies, lean into the cores, Vader or Veers, or Imperial officer if you want the points, save the points for something else. I feel like it's the most diverse of the 4 faction battle forces.
Yeah, and I think Pally made a point, kind of a hope for future battle forces, and I think we have the window. And two things would lead me to believe this. One, this is not the only battle forces that we're going to get. We know we're getting more, so there's potential that we'll get more that are great like this one, or fun like this one. I shouldn't say great. I guess great is a matter of perspective. But the second thing is they've reserved the right to go back and update these battle forces and make these living documents. So if there is tweaks and changes that are needed, they have said that they would do that. So I think that's great on all accounts. So. I will float this. You guys are welcome to stay until I get more callers that are trying to ping in here. I do want to address Todd's question, and I'll float this to either one of you. He's asking here about battle forces without named commanders, and I will say this, Todd, I can speak to this specifically. We ran in the second version of battle forces on the weekend a double generic commander, 11 activations, no Vader, no Veers, and both lists seem to perform quite nicely. So we have a random guy calling in here. That's also known as Ryan, who's now using his 3rd fake account. So since I posed that question to you guys, go ahead and I'll get Ryan on screen here while you guys are answering.
Go ahead, Pally.
I almost want to hit that with the second question that I was wondering, and that's, does Operative Vader have a place here, or is it Commander Vader or no Vader? Because if you're taking Operative Vader, you're going to take a generic. Because I don't think you have the points to also take Veers. Well, hello.
I'm going to put Ryan between you two so that he can behave himself.
I absolutely think generics have a place, but like I said, I'm curious about Operative Vader because he is an option, and he would go with a generic, I believe, if you're going to go that route.
Yeah, I don't think Operative Vader fits there. I think his play style leads him to want to be the one-man army where the battle force is constructed, as we determined with Commander Vader. It just doesn't lend himself to 6 command cards with Vader, and that's what you want with the Operative.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Fair enough.
Okay, Ryan, I'm going to reset the timer. You have full 5 minutes and no more. Go ahead and tell how everybody in chat, all 25 people are wrong.
Am I going to get kicked again?
No, you got 5 minutes. Then you're getting kicked. I got the button.
Oh, okay.
You got it.
But you're not going to auto-kick me like last week.
So far, you've burned 20 seconds just deciding whether you're going to get kicked before the 4 minutes and 20 seconds. 4 minutes and 40 seconds.
I'd like to talk about this brand new unit. It's called an E-Web.
Okay.
It's got a range 4 gun. It's absolutely amazing.
No, sorry.
Wait.
Sean,
Oh, sorry.
I think
Am I
you need
talking
to
about Future Legion?
No,
yeah,
we're playing,
Sean,
we play right now, Legion.
Oh,
yeah,
right
exactly.
now,
You got to
Legion.
kick him for talking about Future Legion.
I'm just going to play. I'm going to cycle all the Ryan comments on the screen, too, as you're talking. So go.
So the E-Web, I think it's a slept-on unit and has been slept on ever since FFG auto-killed it when it still had plotting. I don't know how that's related to me. Anyway, so I got a range 4 gun with a red, 2 black, 2 white.
What happened to right now, Legion?
Health. It's a range 3 gun, 1 red, 2 black, 2 white.
Yep.
I can slap on suppressive, which this Blizzard Force absolutely loves that keyword.
Does. I agree.
I'll add 2 white. It surges to crit, so whenever I play about it, people are like, so what kind of cover I have? My response is, I don't care. I surge to crit. I'll roll at least 5 crits out of those 7 dice every time.
I mean, on average, you roll less than 2, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
I roll above average, though.
That's fair. I mean, 3.5 times above average, but yeah, go.
So he's compensating. Gotcha.
Yeah, right. Compensating. As Jace mentioned, it's mobile light cover, which it's area terrain, which you rarely see on a table. It's
except
beautiful.
Ours.
So, yeah, except yours, honestly. Which is really nice. Outside of Blizzard Force, I like them because they synergize with Shore Troopers. So that's the one difference. I'll take a step outside.
Right.
So I think E-Webs are completely slept on. I mean, the 4 wounds, as X taught, is incorrect there. I leave the bikes at home because there's 6 wounds with white dice, and we live in a world with
bombing run, breakthrough, those ones.
I like playing real objectives. That's my hot take.
Ryan likes playing VAPs, everybody. Ryan likes playing VAPs.
Yeah.
I do love VAPs. VAPs are fun, but I don't like bikes just because they're so flimsy and you can easily counter them. This is the guy in the same generation. Okay.
You play VAPs, therefore you must be a boomer. That's how it works, right?
Oh my god.
All right, Pally, give it to us. What do you got?
I was going to say, if I can consistently score my opponent's bombs with GAR, you can run bikes and get bombing run. It's fine.
I think it's time for story time. I think you need to tell that story.
It's more than one story, and that's getting off topic. So
it's about Blizzard Force today.
It is.
Yeah.
Actually,
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I know Jace mentioned this briefly, but my original point was to talk about the box here. I absolutely love the box. I'm curious how they're going to fit all those models in there, especially in ATST. I love the art. The art's just beautiful. I need that in my basement.
So are you going to buy Blizzard Force? Are you going to buy
hell no. No way in hell. No. The only thing I get out of that is command cards. Like, I don't need a second ATST. I don't need that crap-ass Vader model. I don't need more snow troopers, and I sure as hell don't need any more speeder bikes.
48th Ronin has the answer for you, which is also the same way that you eat an elephant.
Yeah.
In pieces.
I need you to do up your pearlescent purplish pink snowtroopers. So
thanks for that idea. I might actually have to do that since
and there's a bunch of
I
them in
bought
the
another
box.
box. Yeah, I actually bought another box because I needed extra snows. But yesterday I caved in and bought a 4th EWIP.
So before we kick Ryan,
we're gonna kick everybody here as soon as Pally's done, and we'll invite
But
other
you can't
folks
kill
to
me. I'll
jump
come
in.
right back.
I do have an actual question here, and this is now that we have battle forces coming out on top of actual factions, or I should say baseline factions. How do you think they're going to approach points balancing for units and upgrades? Because we could easily end up in a situation where, yes, hold on. We could easily end up in a situation where we have units and upgrades that are ridiculously good in one battle force, but not in another, or in standard list building. And it would seem to be counterintuitive for the more casual aspect of Legion to have battle force specific points costing.
Pick me.
So I'll start with Sean.
No, let's go with Ryan so I can boot him off here quick.
So 2 things. The first thing, we don't talk about casual play here. This is competitive only. Secondly,
get off our pod.
Secondly, get off. Secondly,
wait a second. Why
having
did we have you on here then?
Yeah.
Let me just.
If we're not talking about casual play, then why is this guy?
All right,
here?
go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
Anyway, so the second point with Pally with a points update is, I really feel like they're not going to do it like we've been accustomed to when FFG had the license. Because FFG was actually... They felt involved in the game and felt like this is a living game, unlike other game companies. GW. So AMG has also said that they don't like fixing their games, and if they do, it's far and few between. I know Pally still weeps every night because I can hear him about 52-point phase 1 units, but he's going to have to get used to that.
It's really loud weeping.
It keeps me up at night because I'm laughing. But I really doubt AMG is...
It's a cruel, cruel world out there.
Is considering any points update or any errata, especially for these battle forces, since they came out and said these are for casual play only. Honestly, they feel hands off, and that's another rabbit hole we can go down to some other time. But I really doubt that they're going to do huge erratas unless it's, for Din Djaro's Ambam rifle of, is it an attack? Is it not an attack? Does it count for bounty? Like, just rules clarifications. As for points, I really feel like they'll come out with something like, well, we put it out there, this is what we're going with, and you gotta like it, otherwise don't play our game.
No, they might have. They might say
well,
that.
So it doesn't seem particularly good for the health of the game, though.
No.
Because, and the reason I say that is because when you have game design, especially with a company that has to make money, they're going to push the envelope, and you're gonna get power creep. And I don't hate that they push the envelope, and I don't hate that there's power creep, but you have to have balance and bring stuff along for the ride. And if they're not, if we believe that they're not going to do that, then this is a dead game. Even if they're releasing new stuff, you have to maintain some semblance of balance.
I would like to point out the lack of what feels like playtesting ever since Clone Wars dropped. Because as soon as they dropped the rules of the green token sharing mechanic, I knew standbys were going to be a problem, and we had to live for that for an entire year. Seeing as they already themselves don't know how to play a game, and we have hard evidence of that, I highly doubt they care about a power creep and just want to keep pushing product as fast as possible so they don't lose the license and can make more money off of it. I mean, the fact that they're going to release multiple Ahsoka models already tells me that they're just in it for the money.
Oh,
Okay,
I don't
well,
hate that though.
Here goes the link to Blizzard Force conversation. All right, we're gonna
Pally started it, by the way.
No,
I would just like to point that out.
this, but this ties into Blizzard Force still, because there are going to be things that come out that will be better, and presumably we may get more stuff for Blizzard Force in the future because these are living documents.
Yep.
And as for AMG losing the license, if the game dies, they're going to lose the license. And I don't think the game is dying before we get all of that conversation going.
I think it's.
Can we add? Wait, what is your definition of a dead game? Because Armada's dead, and that's only because it really wasn't supported well. X-Wing is dead because they came out with 2.0 and killed half the community.
The game is dead when LFL looks at the game and says, this is no longer generating us the money that we desire.
So Destiny, basically?
Yep.
I didn't play Destiny.
If anybody gets that reference.
Yeah. Destiny's at dead. Legion is very much alive. In fact, we're talking about Battle Forces that just came out.
And I would like it to stay that way. But we got here based on the question of how are they going to manage points balance between battle forces and regular list building, or are they even going to try? Because I can easily see a world where it gets a little out of hand.
I think so too, but I think right now what they're going to do is they're just going to use battle force configurations as the first governing mechanism to control balance, and not try to have two parallel point levels for units. I think that is where we're going to start.
What do you mean by that, Sean?
I mean that we're not going to have Battle Force specific unit points unless it's going to be very unique in the sense that they're going to put out a heavy response team that is going to be contained solely within Battle Force. But we're not going to see, like, if you take the Vader in this Battle Force, he is 190 base cost. If you take Vader in this force, he's 200 base cost. And I don't think they're going to try to points adjust within Battle Forces. At least initially, that is my thought.
Jace, did you notice 48th Ronin's comment?
To start playing? Yes. Play MESPG. Yep. There you go.
Sorry. I had to point that out to him. I know he's
48th Ronin knows where it's at.
Yeah.
So for anybody else in the chat that would like to jump in here, please do and kick me off. I'm tired of having
I'm gonna sweep all of you guys out of here. So thanks Andrew, thanks Ryan, thanks Pal for coming in.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody poses something that you want to jump back in, you're on it. I just want to leave some space so I can actually get some other callers in here. Thanks. Stay in chat though.
I'll be back.
Keep chatting.
Yep. And
sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
Oh!
We can still hear you. I didn't kick him out though. I just removed it from the screen. Go ahead, Andrew.
Just a parting shot at Pally. The call for point adjustment, spoken like a true GAR player.
Yeah, cry about it.
Okay. All right, guy. See ya.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, I also kicked Jace by accident. Whoopsie. Jace will have to call back in. So there you go, Ryan. I got karma. I was too quick on the kick button. So all right, there's the chat if you want to call back in. Sorry, Jace, you got.
I was like, how long were you planning that for?
We got called with the rest, so that was actually unintentional. Although Ryan made a great kick out of that. All right, last call for callers that are not Ryan or Pally to come in and tell us. Although we do greatly appreciate them, of course. And by the way, just a reminder that we are talking about battle forces, and if we can keep away from all things that are, skies falling and Destiny somehow came up in that conversation, which is super unique, which is it was an accident. That is correct, Andrew. It was 100%. Let me ask you this, Jace. Well, it's an unrelated question, not Battle Force. Do you say on accident or you just say an accident? Because I notice a lot of people say on accident, and I don't necessarily know what that translates into. So
yeah, no, I just say an accident.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, but a lot of people like to say on accident, which is crazy. So, all right, folks, last call. Like I said, Battle Force, come tell us all about your Blizzard Force. So, Pally, pose your question right now, and we can start working on that. Wife would like to say that she's upset about the guard points update. Okay, well that's fair. That's fair. There's a lot of people that are upset. So, oh my goodness, random guy 2 joining. Who is this now? This seems to be Ryan again. Okay, Ryan, what else do you need to tell us? We got you in here.
Oh, I just thought about jumping in too, but we can talk about Veers. Or I did see someone mention Becky.
Yep.
and just running straight Becky's. Which,
I ran 2 Becky's actually. So, all right.
And how did that go? I'm actually interested in that. How did that go? Because I've been playing with that idea, but I love Max.
I think
so
2
much.
Becky's would be great.
So how basically it worked was the 2 Becky's was an 11. It was 11 activation list, and it was ATST. It was 2 bikes.
Okay.
It was 2 E-Webs. It was Becky and Chad. Both had electro binoculars. It was 2 fire support teams with HH12 and DLTs in both because we wanted to try them versus the 97C. And it was just straight fire base. So the problem was that rando pulled breakthrough, and so it would just literally sat defensive. It did kill a lot of things.
Yes, you do.
But it was also, again, we rando pulled out of the whole pile, so it ended up being breakthrough advanced positions. And because I was running Fluttercrafts on the other side, it really forced the list to be spread out. But that being said, it basically murderized anything that it shot at. Like Wookiees were... at the end of the game, I finished with a chieftain who ran over to the corner, so he was fairly healthy because he didn't engage much. I had 1 Wookiee left and a few of the clones, and the clones basically just sat behind a wall the entire game until I ran all 3 out, and the ATST just wasn't able to shoot enough things. So, but I didn't kill both E-Webs in the game. I didn't kill both commanders, so I just ended up scoring running past things. But it had great health. It put out a pile of aim tokens. And the Fluttercrafts saved pretty average, but never below average, which I think ended up hurting them. And when those heavy response teams get run over by Fluttercraft, just like everything else, make them make enough saves and they eventually die. And that's effectively what happened. But the first game where I had to run at them, my hostage to get them, the list got blown off the table. Just absolutely murderized. So
Can you send me that list?
Yep, I can.
Awesome.
So
I was gonna see if I can attempt to kill a unit right now. Just absolutely kill it as I go to plug my laptop in.
so I was going to pose a question here, since we're talking about
for
Blizzard Force. If you're on the receiving end of all that suppression, how do you maneuver to try to mitigate all of the incoming hate? Because you're going to have a lot of action denial on your end, and you're trying to get in there. So, like, how do you proceed with your game plan? Well, hold on, Ryan. How do you proceed with your game plan? I mean, okay, CIS, great.
148th Ronin suggests.
Right.
But what is like, find the nearest table. Find the nearest table and bend over.
It's a problem, Pally, but I think that fundamentally that is the point of the list, and there isn't a great answer to it. That's why I think that combination of cards where you spew out suppression, you stack it up, and then you say you can't take it away, and if you play that late enough in the game, you have an answer for lots of things. All right, Ryan, go ahead. Tell us not only why Blizzard Force is the best / terrible, but how you're going to beat / never beat it.
Okay, so 2 ways. And you can only do this, 3 ways. And there's only 2 other armies that can do this.
Okay, taking notes.
Pally's not one of them. So the first one is you staple lead by example onto Leia. So you just inspire everything.
So you're taking Leia now.
Oh, no, I'm talking to answer his question of how do you counteract the suppression heavy. Can we pause a moment and answer what a Becky is real quick?
Yeah, it's generic officer.
Thank you.
And Chad's the other one if you take... It's Becky and Chad if you take 2.
So, yeah, Inspire's the way to go to counter this. If you're Rebels, or I guess if you're Imps, you could take the Captain. So you don't become suppressed, but again, you have to make sure you have 3 or less suppression. Because if you have 4 and you're at a...
Meanwhile, the army has like 6 to 7 suppressive weapons easily.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got to do some math there on your end. Or you run droid troopers.
Okay.
Well, luckily we got a faction of those.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Which, I mean,
But-
like I said, there's only 3 armies that can do this, and Pally's is not one of them.
Well, counter argument to that though, even droid troopers will get routed off the table
Yeah,
with
they
enough
will.
suppression. So
They will. They'll panic. I did it earlier. I did it Sunday. But I mean, army's not going to get slowed down. I mean, those are the 3
Right.
main ways to beat this.
Because we're
Right.
full of hot takes. Can I just hold my phone up for a second? This
Yeah,
right here
what's that?
says. This just says if you're not watching Friday Night Fights right now, Ryan is getting dumped on. And
I don't know if I'm getting dunked on.
I'm just gonna leave this just going for a bit here. Amazing.
Okay, so
what?
can
It's in the hot take
attempt
central,
to-
so Ryan has access
can
to
I-
that, by the way.
Oh no,
So,
hold on. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Can I attempt to kill an upgrade real quick?
I thought you were gonna kill a unit.
Yeah, like what?
I meant upgrade.
Okay,
I meant
okay.
upgrade.
Okay, kill an upgrade.
The HH-12.
Oh, wait a second here.
Is-
I need to
Okay,
know if
kick him
Sean-
out, kick
Sean
him
Death's
out.
still in the chat here. I hope Sean
I
Death's
think
still in the chat.
he might be.
And I hope Sean
Yeah.
Death is going to see me post this link, and I really hope that he takes advantage of this and comes. Continue, Ryan.
Okay, so the HH-12 should not be used ever. I'm
Ever.
sorry, but
So
ever.
I have a
Those
rule.
days died long ago.
Never, ever, and always statements are really hard to show your work on. So I'm
Yeah.
always, and I'm saying always here, careful.
Oh, he
when
is
using
here.
never, ever, and always
Yes.
statements. So continue killing the HH-12, which should
So-
never be taken.
It is cumbersome, which means you have to shoot if you want to use it, and you can't move. So you're locked in a position.
Yeah, at range 4. That's really a tough
Correct.
range band to play in. Yep.
They're blacks. I don't care about the impact because no one uses vehicles. Like, they're just not as prevalent as they should be.
I'm gonna see
What?
myself out.
No. I know, Sean. I know you use them as like.
I didn't
often
realize
as
Ryan was
possible.
blind, but it makes so much sense now.
Well,
Yeah,
hey,
Ryan
hey,
says
Ryan.
don't
I
take it, you
honestly
should
don't
probably
think we need it.
I actually don't think
hey.
we can. I don't think I can dispute this anymore. You've now said that a unit should never be taken, and no one uses vehicles in this game. I feel like I have purchased.
They're
so
not
many
as
things
prevalent
that
that I need to have Impact 3 with
Hey,
my
hold on.
DLT on them.
I need to know real quick. Hey, Sean, what's the unit type header under the spider droid?
that's a support. Oh, you
Support-
mean
no,
the,
not-
the vehicle one? Oh, the
Yeah.
vehicle
The-
subheading. Yeah.
Now, and out of curiosity, does it have a keyword on there that would impact would interact with at all, or is it
Oh
not
my
one
I think
of those?
armor is. I mean, but I've never actually
Armor.
seen that
Okay.
keyword because
Okay.
no one takes vehicles.
Fair. Also, wasn't there like a thing
Where they
that the
break?
rebels took?
Get-
Well, no, but the other one that the rebels take, the vroom vroom to get dudes around the board.
I
Vroom,
think.
vroom.
Oh,
I bought a pass
bus?
for this. Is a bus, an AA5, I think.
Right.
Okay.
Now, was that
Luckily,
a trooper or
nobody's
what
a-
is that?
Wait a second. My case. Let me look right now. I have a AAT. Oh yeah, no one takes those. Airspeeder. Nope, never heard of those.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yep.
Land
Spider
land
droids,
speeder.
what are those?
No one's taken a land speeder.
Hey,
ever.
do any of
AA5.
those have a keyword? They don't have a keyword that interacts with impact at all, right?
I don't think I've ever
Don't think so.
heard or seen
Okay.
these units that you're talking about. Continue, Ryan. This seems to be very much down a track of line of thinking that I must hear more about.
Okay. Anyway,
Hey,
it exhausts is another one and doesn't have cycle. Like
Yeah,
it is the worst heavy upgrade Empire could have outside of the T7 Ion for snows.
All right, Sean.
Yeah,
does-
I
Armor
get
was
it's
removed.
cheap in that it's 16 points. Big deal. This is a game where you got to be mobile, so you got to take the DLT and RT97C.
Look,
If you're gonna play a range 4 game, you might as well do something to where you can move and shoot.
HH12 and DLT as a 2 of
actually seems kind of spicy.
Yeah, impact
No.
right. Impact
Yeah.
4 with basic, like I said, you're rolling 8 dice at range 3, so you are on average spotting another crit. So it's impact 5.
No.
Why?
Now-
No.
What
Now,
about
here,
Shadow
why
Collective, Dark Sun or Black Suns in buses, like just cracking that shell? What about Vader in Lat cracking that shell? What about breaking the AAT on the CIS, which is basically potentially packing like a field commander and cracking that shell, where your suppressive weapons are now basically going to gut the CIS army and they're running off the table because you just cracked the armor shell.
No, I'm
Like-
still against it. Like, I will die on this hill. I'm against the HH12 just because it's been bad since maybe
Well, I would argue that it's been bad
July
since
of
now.
he's
2017.
gonna
Like,
make
it was
me play.
it was good when the game dropped. Like, I'll give it that. It
What
was
are
good
you
when the game
talking
30,
dropped.
34 points when the game dropped?
Yeah, no, it was not good when the game dropped.
Okay.
Ryan's
But
literally
now
gonna
since,
make me
like,
buy.
we went away from running all these heavy armor lists, and now they're just starting to come back. But since we have a ton of critical everywhere, half an army will surge to crit most of the time. There's just no reason to do that.
I don't think the
anymore.
CIS was ever worried about any of that given the cheap repair. I think that Ion was the thing that hurt vehicles more than crit.
Yeah.
So why are we taking the T7 Ion on the snows?
Why
I
are
was
we?
very much considering it yesterday.
I think people
Because
have
that one is also trash.
Hey, guys,
Oh, I love the T7 Ion on the
I
snows.
hate it.
it's
Absolutely
great.
hate it. A black
HH12.
two white? No.
HH12 DLT heavy response unit is 66 points.
yes, 66
gross.
points.
Like
For 5
What?
minis.
66 points that throws 8 dice at range 3, impact 4.
I mean, it throws
Precise.
2 red, 3 black at range 4.
Precise 1, well, I'm just saying at range 3 it's even more potent. Add another
Yeah,
3
it's
white
8
in there.
dice. Yeah.
Pierce 1, or sorry, precise 1, surge hit, impact 4.
And importantly, for flavor wins, it's 66 points, so it's great at killing Jedi.
That's
Yep,
fair.
exactly.
That's fair. Yeah.
See, you gotta get it to range 3 though. That's the thing.
No, you don't need to
Like,
get it
you-
to range 3. It has 2 range 4 weapons. That's the point of it. You don't need to move it to range 3, and you don't need to
that.
move it, which is the point of the cumbersome not procking, where you just recover,
But
shoot.
it may or may not have an aim, and sometimes you want that
That's
aim.
why you take Becky and Chad with dual spotter 2, and you can actually proc both, and you have different timing windows, and you have 2 sources of inspire, so that you can make sure it has those suppression tokens off, so it can do its own recover shoot. Or in the fact where maybe you're playing Veers and you're playing Imperial Discipline, then maybe and coordinated fire in that list. Now you have multiple aims, don't need to do your own recovers, have range 4 band or range 3 band if you want to set that up. And you can split fire and be multiple suppressive weapons, and there's a turn where you can spur that unit with unhindered. I'm failing to see why this unit is bad.
Okay, but now I'm locked at range 4, and I'm not very mobile now because I left 1 or 2 of my commanders back there to take care of 2 units that I could have taken a better gun that allows me to be more mobile and push late game.
Well, you can push late game for sure with a double speed 3 unhindered move to run all the way to the objective.
Depending on
just
the objective. Depending on what
Intercept.
the objective is.
intercept,
But if
bombing run, breakthrough, key positions.
okay, but if you still have your
No,
commanders there,
remember,
and
Sean.
you
Remember,
want your
Sean. Ryan,
snows,
Ryan only plays boomer
your
objectives.
snows aren't doing anything.
What do you mean your
Snows
snows
are
aren't
either
doing
going to be
anything?
suppressed or they could panic. Like,
Why?
It's going to take them longer to get them there.
Why
Because
they're
your
going to be
commanders are sitting all the way back, so they're not going to hit the inspire range.
inspired?
Who said you have to
They're not
sit
gonna have
both of them
aims.
back there?
I mean, you don't need to sit all of them back there. I don't think you have to sit. I don't think your commanders do
You
nothing
can
for
take-
the whole game.
You can take 4 generic officers in Blizzard Force if you really want.
I think, are you 0 to 2? You're 2.
Because
Two.
because it says 0 to 4 commanders and operative units.
That
hold
is
on.
even
And
No.
it says one of the.
No,
Wait,
Blizzard
no,
Force
that
is
can't be it.
2.
Yeah.
Is Blizzard Force 2?
Yeah.
Fact checking.
Blizzard
Army may
Force
include
is 2.
one
two
to two
commander and
commanders.
operative units.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
just one
probably
to two
thinking
commander
Shadow
and operative.
Collective
Yeah.
because he's building Shadow.
Shadow,
Collective.
and I think Rebels
Probably.
too, isn't it? Isn't Rebels also 4?
Rebels is also 4. So Rebels can
Well,
take
that's
4
because
officers.
Rebels want a
Jordan.
hero hammer.
Let's say Droid Invasion's only 1.
Yeah.
Like, they get
But I
hard
mean-
limited.
Well,
But yeah.
yeah, they're
No, I think there's 2. Oh, I think
You
there's
can
just
only
2
pick
because they
one.
have. But you have Maul's an option.
and no
Maul's an operative.
an operative. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
specifically one
Oh,
commander,
do they?
period.
One commander. Gotcha.
And you may take the one operative.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But I don't think I don't think that the HH-12 is terrible, and this is the first time that I've ever articulated aloud me with putting a unit with an HH-12 ever, because I actually think that Blizzard Force made it valuable in the fact that you're going to couple another heavy with it, which adds to that dice pool, which I think the 2 reds kicking in with that 3 black at range 4 is what's going to make that impactful. Excuse the pun. Is going to make that impactful in the game. But since you're never shooting it,
better. I think there's better options though.
here's the thing.
So-
If in a world where you're playing where no one has heavies, I agree. But I don't think that that's reality, and I don't think that that's
Well,
tournaments.
half the time the heavies don't score though.
I mean, you have not
Half the
played.
time
You're
they
playing
we
don't
have
heavy
never
score.
played a game. We have never played a game, you and I.
Well, yeah, you and I haven't, but I'm saying in general, like for objectives. I know you're taking all the vehicle ones, but most of the time, guys are taking the trooper scoring objectives.
no.
And when that happens, the game turns into ignore the heavy because it's not scoring.
There may be a point to what Ryan's saying here in regular Empire building. If you have access to T21 spam and you can just crit 2 for days, HH12 doesn't serve a whole lot of purpose. But
I'm
the
talking in
Ion,
general.
well, in Blizzard Force, you have all of the heavy options across 2 Stormtrooper units and only 2 Stormtrooper units. So,
Like, I get it's cheap. I'll wait.
No, continue. We can hear you.
Oh,
He just
okay.
has his muted. Yeah.
Like, I get it's cheap,
I'm back.
but I don't like getting locked into range for having to babysit a unit when this army wants to just get on top of your opponent, not just
Is
with
this the same guy who
suppression,
said he wants
but
range 4
continually
ELEBs?
pushing.
So
Well, hold
Oh
on.
no,
So what do you-
I know that's coming.
So let me ask you this, Ryan. Why would
Okay.
this be any different than when someone takes limited visibility against you, and for a whole turn you do nothing? Now you shut down an entire army basically because you have no range 2 shots, and you lose everything. You don't auto lose the game when you have to move your units for a turn to get shots. So if you think about in a 6-turn game, and maybe one of those turns you're running to an objective or really mitigating your shots because you're double moving or whatever, and you another turn in the game have to move, which would be the equivalent of having limited visibility, potentially 2 turns in limited visibility, I don't see how that's any different. So having to move your units to get into a fire position, I think is okay, and I don't think it suddenly nullifies the the ability for the HH-12 to be impactful in the game. And again, pun intended there, that the unit is such a punchy unit, and a 1-2 punch of impact 4, potentially 5 if you're rolling 8 dice, to just gut a bus or a lat or an airspeeder. Like, what is an airspeeder going to do? They have to get to range 3 to shoot you, and you're going to punch an 8 dice impact 4, maybe potentially times 2 shot into it to erase an airspeeder?
There's
My money's on the
another
airspeeder.
there's another
Honestly.
thing here too. Really though, there's another component to this too. Where being that this unit is only 66 points, if they're dedicated, and it's probably in heavy cover because it's at range 3 to 4. like realistically, they have to dedicate firepower to take this thing out. If they're pouring that much fire to take out this unit, your other units are happy. That is not a trade that they're winning points-wise.
No, because
Like-
while you're shooting at this unit, the snows are double moving steady, moving up on you with frag snows. And as soon as you shift gears, and in fact, as soon as the pressure drops on that HH-12, or potentially your opponent's like, you know what, I'm gonna mitigate this by hanging out back here, then just move it forward. Just press your range 4 bubble even further forward. And I don't think if you're moving to press your range 4 advantage by pushing your opponent deeper into their own lines is in fact saying that a unit is no good. The reason that they're pushing back and giving you that area, that breadth, is because the unit is good. Why do people back away from force users? Not because if you never get to trigger force push in a game because your opponent kept running away from your force user, that doesn't nullify the force user being good. That's what it did. That's what it's doing. It's making that bubble.
It's a school of thought where the fear of a thing is worse than the thing itself. And you see it a lot with these very focused units, like you said, lightsabers, or these heavy impact units where people don't want to get in there and tangle with them. If you have 2 of these units with impact 4 overlapping fields of fire to just look at the first piece of armor that comes in and say, nope.
Why are E-Webs good, Ryan? And I mean this is a serious question. Why are E-Webs good as a stationary gun at range 3?
It locks down an area.
Okay, at range 3.
For one. It can be suppressive for a very cheap cost.
At range 3.
Provides cover.
Okay. Like itself?
No, like it provides cover to my army.
Like you mean covering in terms of fire, or covering in the fact that it provides them
Like
light cover hiding?
I think
like the
actual
keyword,
cover.
The keyword.
Okay.
Actual cover.
Okay.
So it provides cover to my army.
Yep.
Surge to crit is pretty nice.
Okay.
And they're slept on completely, which means everyone's unprepared for them.
Okay.
Let's stick to objective.
But let's slot.
Not slept on.
I mean, it helps in that case because if you bring something to a table that someone's not used to.
Let's slot the
advantage
HH-12
there.
unit into that. So the HH-12 can't provide cover to your army, but can easily have cover too. That's fine. It can easily be in cover. That's fine. It provides cover. It fires range at range 4. It can actually shoot multiple units. 2.
How?
Because it
Split
split
fire.
fires, it's heavy.
When you split fire, okay.
It
but
actually
that's
can do it at range 3.
Not
It
the
can do
unit
it,
itself.
but the unit, the unit itself
what you're
does.
saying.
The unit itself does. It can actually do it to three targets. It can be suppressive in a particular turn.
Yeah.
Could.
In
You also have to have.
In fact, it can be 3 times suppressive in a particular turn, because it can split fire at range 3 different targets, and put out 6 suppression in a given turn.
But you can say that to any other of those heavy weapons, though.
Well,
Any of the other heavy
And
weapons
if you're hiding that,
what?
if you're hiding that HH-12, any of them can be suppressive.
Like what other heavies though?
All the others.
Well,
The
okay.
R297C, the DLT,
Well, the DLT's
the
in that.
T21.
The DLT's in that. Yes.
Well, I'm saying the split firing with that, any of them could be suppressive for a round.
right.
My problem is if you're hiding that HH-12, it's going to have to move because this is a very mobile game to where you want to flank and move.
I don't think you're hiding it though, because here's the thing: if you put that unit in heavy cover, you have heavy cover and 2 shield bodies, potentially 3 if you want to keep your HH-12 alive before you're taking that off the table. Which is the unit itself has more health than an E-Web, right?
Let's also look at
by one. What?
the range band that you have to crawl through to get to an AAT is ridiculous. Like, that range 4 shot is kind of nutty to try to have to move through.
Yeah,
get
E-Webs will just get blown.
True.
I don't think that an AAT, for example, has any worries of sitting at range 4 of an E-Web and shooting it.
Yeah.
I don't think that an AAT feels as comfortable sitting at range 4 of an HH-12 DLT.
Oh, sure it does, because it's got red saves.
It has red saves
for days,
but
you can slap ag tax on it, so it'll surge.
How do you kill Yoda? How do you kill Palpatine?
Yeah, you focus fire into it, but now you're not focusing on the horde of B1s or spiders I have.
I mean, you're forcing at a minimum. Well, I don't want to say at a minimum. You're forcing probably at least 8 saves on that tank every round.
True, but there's other stuff you should be shooting at.
But here's the thing: you can't use every subjective scenario to discredit the unit when we're trying to talk to the unit. So the E-Web is not as good as the HH-12 in a given the HH-12.
Well, they fill two different roles.
I don't think they do at all.
Then why?
I don't think they do at all. The HH-12 is
two completely different roles.
Is a fire base if there ever was a fire base. The 97C DLT unit is much more of a mobile, let's press forward, let's take advantage of the unhindered, let's shoot and move, let's go. The HH-12
which is what that unit wants to do.
I don't think so, though.
Here's the other thing.
Unhindered on a unit, why would you not want to be moving and shooting all the time?
Well, I think the point is that you can move and shoot sometimes, but I think the unhindered is not about just giving you the extra move to get the shot. I think the unhindered is to be able to respond to a pressure on the table where needed. And whatever that response is...
But you can't do that with an HH-12.
Well, you just can't move and shoot the same turn.
There's something here,
or
though.
Shoot and move.
If you end up in a situation where you need to move and shoot, the HH-12 can still throw a white die, and then you just have a DLT Stormtrooper squad for a round.
Well, in fact, it can move to range 3 and throw 3 white, and 4 white and 2 red.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
And wait a second, that's actually what a normal Stormtrooper DLT squad throws anytime. So the move-shoot potential of that unit versus a Stormtrooper with the DLT is not mitigated whatsoever with the HH-12 added. In fact, it's actually less than because it moves unhindered and is not slowed by the terrain that the normal DLT Stormtrooper squad would.
Now, let me slap this real quick because Stryker's making a point here. There are going to be situations where an HH-12 unit is bad. That exists for every unit in the game.
Every upgrade ever. Improvised orders, and I pulled the exact order that I needed every single time. Improvised orders is not bad as a result of that, though.
If you're looking for a situation where something is going to be bad, you will find that situation. It's how many situations can this be good in, and does that start to make sense over the couple where it doesn't?
I think 66 points is where you start with making this argument good.
Let me look here real quick.
See, I still go back to this is a trooper focused game and has been a trooper focused game, and I shouldn't be tailoring my list to hopefully I see a vehicle. If not, it feels like I just wasted points on something that could have been.
I mean, outranging in E-Web is already great too.
What faction have you seen who does not take vehicles? Period. Never takes a vehicle.
I think that just comes down to what you see in your local area then.
That is an argument.
In the last month, I have seen one vehicle.
So you're saying your local area doesn't? The main area.
Yes, and I think that's what it comes down to.
Tournaments. We're not talking about our area. We're talking about large tournaments.
Yeah, but how many are running more than one vehicle though? In these tournaments.
Lots.
Let me cut back to this question.
Going to top tables.
Let me come back to this question real quick. Would you pay 2 points for unhindered and the option to have an HH-12 sometimes?
Say that again?
Of course.
Would you pay 2 points for unhindered and the option to sometimes have an HH-12?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to follow what you're.
He's
okay.
saying, would you pay
Okay.
2 points on a unit to give it unhindered, and then occasionally have an HH12, meaning the turns that you move, you wouldn't have it. The turns that you didn't move, you would have it.
I asked
No,
this
because I like to use all the points I put into my units, not just sometimes. Like if I put it in there, I want.
Pally,
to use
just
it
finish the
entire
thought
time.
so
Okay,
that he
well,
can get to where
go
you're
ahead.
at right now.
a DLT.
Before Pally
Go
can
ahead.
finish this thought, so you're saying you wouldn't pay 2 points for a 3-point upgrade card?
No,
Okay.
no, because It
The-
depends on what that does. If it's situational awareness, then yeah, you got to take that. But if it's just unhindered, I know what you're saying with environmental.
The DLT Stormtrooper is 64 points.
Yes.
The
Environmental
DLT
gear, 3 points, 67, 66 points for the HH12 unhindered unit. That's what we're saying. So for 1 point less, you have the HH12 on every turn that you don't move, and every turn that you do, you always have unhindered. It's still inherently a better value than taking straight storms.
Yeah, but you're not always using the HH12. That's my problem.
How about this though?
Game.
I have a shield on Sabine and I don't use it every turn. Is having a shield on Sabine 1 extra health in her pool bad? No, it isn't. You take the upgrades for situational usage
Well, now you're
in every
comparing apples and oranges.
I'm not. I'm saying you take an upgrade
Definitely
for
not.
situational use in this entire game. I have grappling hooks. I never climbed a building. I had scale. I ran over flat ground. I had a shield. I never used it. I had saber throw. I got killed before I used it. Like, every single upgrade you take in this game is for situational usage. Every single one of them. There's not one.
I base my rule of thumb on it's almost an auto include at 3 uses, good at 2, and I look at it for those situational one-offs where it might be fantastic. But like if I'm gonna get 3 in a 6-round game, I'm figuring round 1 is positioning, round 5 is possibly positioning. I mean, Ronan, that's fair. That is a fruit salad.
Yep.
Round 6 is scoring. That leaves you 2 to 3 rounds of actual killing. Realistically, there's some killing that happens in other rounds, but you have 2 to 3 rounds of actual killing, a couple rounds of positioning, and a round of scoring in most games of Legion. If you only shoot the HH12 3 times in a game, that's pretty average.
If you run Veers, you get Imperial Discipline. You can give yourself a 4th turn if you need to.
Or you could shoot all 6 turns and then close in on objectives.
Yes. If you lost an E-Web because it sat at range 3 and got smoked versus sitting at range 4 and were shooting because the opponent couldn't shoot you at the range band, would that rule that the E-Web is obsolete because it gets hit more often?
It depends. Like, for me, I don't care. Like, cool, you shot at my E-Web. You didn't shoot at anything else.
I would shoot at your E-Web just to demoralize you and take them all off the
I
table.
know you would. I know you would.
Yeah.
But
when we
I'm
play,
also
Ryan, I'm
from
sitting
like
at range 4 and smoking everything at range 3 or less.
There's another
and I
thing here
welcome
too.
that. I welcome that. But I
there's
also
an-
think the HH... Go ahead.
I'll say there's another thing here too. We can take a lesson from our B1 friends. You can't do this with an E-Web. If you take one of those little extra dudes in this rapid response unit and shove it behind a building, that's an act that's going to get preserved no matter how much they shoot at it. And preserving activations is exactly what you need to do in an objective-based game.
Yeah, and you know what? When you kill the HH12 and the DLT and all the extra dudes, you go hide the leader, and you can never kill that act. Good luck hiding an E-Web.
The point of... Yeah. I just come from a different school of thought, and we can just agree to disagree. It's...
IG unit, stand down.
I rest my case.
I think deep down, though, Sean, I think you are scared of E-Webs, and I think you might get a little flustered if you see 4 of them.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would laugh so hard.
I will be real flustered. Smoking them off the
Yeah.
table with HE
Oh, no.
shells with one shot.
Oh no, 4 health.
One thing
oh no.
Pally looking like a Bond villain down there. One thing I did notice, I know we're supposed to stay on topic, but I did notice.
Oh, that ship sailed 43 minutes ago.
Yeah. Well, I'll stay on that boat, but I did notice that there were 2 12-act lists out of the top 8 or top 10 at Lone Star.
Actually, let's.
Any thoughts on that?
Sorry, we'll say that again.
There were two 12-act lists that made it to top 8 at Lone Star.
Okay.
Cool.
I don't
Any
dispute
thoughts
that.
on
I don't dispute that high act lists are great.
Yeah.
I only play high act
Yeah.
lists.
I
Okay,
only
so
kill
I'll
high.
clip that later.
What?
Well,
No,
what
Keep-
did
dude,
you say, Pally?
keep- I said I only kill high list.
Yeah.
And he starts with E-webs.
Yeah.
And I think if I actually shared one of my lists, which I tend to keep those locked away in a secret vault.
Well, go ahead and share your lists because
Okay.
your
Yeah.
lists are built not to face vehicles, which don't exist. So I don't even know if
Yeah.
a list will be good
No,
against
my-
that.
I mean,
my
you're
lists are
also
built
telling us
to-
how you're also telling us how great your list is. So, but prove it. Prove how good it is.
Okay, so I run high activation count lists, so I don't run anything less than 12.
Anything
And I
less
like
than
to-
12. Yep.
Anything less than 12,
Okay.
which means I'll run 14 if I want to.
Okay.
When I build lists, I tend to put trap units in.
What's a
in
trap
there,
unit?
And I want
HH12?
you to shoot at it. Like I pull a Thrawn move. I will bait and sacrifice a unit just so you can shoot at it.
Okay.
Locally, those are my E-webs. If you talk to anyone in my local area, they're like, oh, take out the E-webs, try to kneecap him. That's why I like E-webs, because they're just this giant piece of area terrain that I get for 55 points.
Define
Which are
giant.
cheap.
Define giant though, right? Because it's on a whatever
If I can put a
3.5 inch.
5-man unit behind it,
Okay.
it's pretty big.
You can do that with a barricade though.
You mean like a 5-man unit of HH12 and DLT?
No, not like that. But barricades aren't mobile.
Barely E-webs are though. Truthfully.
True, but they provide cover. That's the other thing. They're also emplacement troopers.
Yeah. So they can't capture
So they
objectives. Can't
they
claim.
They
Yep.
can't
Can't
be
clamber.
displaced.
Can't climb.
Yep.
That's cool.
They can't go over
That-
hardly anything.
I don't.
Yep.
They can't be displaced. Provide
Okay.
light cover. Synergize with
And
short
sit-
troopers. Synergize really well with short troopers.
Because you're not taking mortars.
No, I'll still take mortars.
So you'll take mortars. So how do you win objectives that need hands?
How do I win objectives
That
Well,
need hands.
That need
They
hands.
need-
that need hands? Okay, well I always run Veers, so I'll run Veers in there. I let Veers get into the fight.
Okay, so that's an easy kill.
What are you gonna do about bounty?
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. No, like seriously, that is my mentality. I do not care.
Okay.
Depending on what that bounty hunter is, if it's Cad Bane, I want you to divulge that 3-pip.
Okay.
I'm gonna find his tokens. I'm gonna pull him out. I don't care. That's part of it, and that's just part of my mentality overall. Running these high act lists is I don't care what the hell you do. Like, I don't bring saber users, and I rarely have an anti melee piece because I don't really care. Like that, it's just my mentality. I don't care.
How do you
what
deal with
have.
Wookiees and Magna Guard right now?
Let's see. Wookiees, white saves. I don't really care. You got to get into me. I got a gun line. Good luck. Magna Guard.
I mean, double
Don't
speed
really care.
2 scale feels good, but like
It
coming up
feels
and
good,
over.
but
I mean, I've got a better gun line than you, and Magna Guard are terrifying.
Have you faced a lot of Magna Guard?
no.
'Cause they're usually triple,
Oh.
double, triple dodge.
Yeah,
red,
I know.
red
With
saves,
the RPS.
PKs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one runs PKs though. That's the other thing.
Oh,
I know, Sean. I know, Sean. No one's running PKs.
Looks like
here.
someone only plays in his meta.
You know what you
No,
need to do,
I
Ryan? You need to
I
join
honestly
the league.
haven't changed
You need
anything.
to join the league. You need to join the
Well, I
league.
did, and I didn't change my list up, and I still did pretty well those first 2 rounds that I could get games on.
You need to join the league. Because I have seen everything under the sun in the league.
I know, yeah, but like I haven't brought. Oh, please, Justice, please do that. Like I will thank you if you do that. Anyway, I play my game. At the end of the day, I just have the mentality of I'm going to play my game. I'm going to force you to play my game.
I'm good with all that. I'm good with all that, Ryan.
Like,
I do that
and
too.
part of it, and I just look at Legion a different way. Like I don't care what the numbers look like. At the end of the day, it's a dice game. If I can outmaneuver you, I can outmaneuver you. You can bring whatever meta list you think, and you can be like, well, on average, I'm supposed to hit this, this, and this. Like, I don't care.
I think
you still got to play. You still got to hit it.
I think we say that a lot, though, Ryan. Like, we talk about a lot of off-meta, non-meta usage. I don't even...
Except E-Webs.
I mean, I think that...
We've talked about E-Webs lost
before. Don't like E-Webs. I have used E-Webs. I used E-Webs in Gav tanks. And I had tons of success with it. 15 wins, 15 games.
Sean, we probably used E-Webs before Ryan played this game.
But I used them to their advantage, and I took away their disadvantage in terms of their mobility, in my opinion. But that's fantastic. Let's block this.
Why do they never include the link? Why do they never include the link?
Well, they're gone
because
now.
then they get auto shut down.
What the heck?
Like, if you're going to do it, include the link.
What? Hold on. Ryan's asking for links now. Should somebody tell Lindsay?
Oh.
But I think, Ryan, that we talk a lot about playing the list and playing your style and playing all that. So I'm getting that. What I'm getting at, though, is I don't think you can be so narrow in of any view, and I'm not saying just your view or any view. I don't think anyone can be so narrow as to say, well, I don't face this, therefore I don't need to have an answer to it. I think what we're trying to do is get out of you when you're presented with, X, Y, and Z problem, and you have answer to X. What do you do about Y and Z? And if the answer is like I don't care, I don't think that's actually an answer to that. Because if you get run over and smoked by it, and that happens to be the prevalence of the meta at that particular event, wherever you are, then you have to go back to the drawing board. Because I don't think that you take the same chance and be like, well, next time I go, it's going to be different. Therefore, I don't need to be progressive in this.
Hey, Ryan, do we have a primarily Rebel player in our area that I could borrow some units from? Because I've got a double airspeed or triple RT list. I would love to bring to your house.
Dude, I'm 100%.
Wrote it. I clicked it.
I'm 100%. You said a what list?
Primarily Rebel. I've got a double airspeed or triple RT list that I love.
I know a guy whose army you could have because he'll probably be leaving, but hit me up after.
All right.
Well, let's close this down as we hit the 3-hour mark.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Final thoughts, Ryan.
Sean, quick question, Sean. How many minutes after Ryan's 5 is he still on here for?
We gave him he's got a bit of bonus time here. So.
Hey, you can't blame me. No one else called in. Pally and I called in because we're like, well, no one else is talking.
No one
and there's the wife.
No one could because you called in so soon.
Yeah.
I let everyone else go, and then I was like, okay, I'll call in. And
next week we're going to have a segment called "Tell Ryan He's Wrong." You can't call in. And we're just going to have people call and tell us all about all the things. So
Sean, if Ryan's got all this bonus time today, that means we take it from his future one. So he can't call in for however many multiples of 5 minutes there are in the next
after the release
episodes.
of Gar Ahsoka, by my count.
Yep, sounds good.
Yeah.
So what, are we talking 2026?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. But
that's like the most cohesive thing I've heard Ryan say all evening.
Seemingly 48th Ronin has decided to forego the gym session because he said the show was so entertaining. So that
I must be doing something right.
You're doing,
I must be doing something right.
You are doing something right. Yes. Yep. That's right. Yep.
I think at the end of the day, though, I think it just comes down to your personal play and what you... God. Oh, my... You know what?
Just a summary statement.
I would... If I win Worlds, can I just have an entire week or two dedicated to me?
Yeah, you.
If you win Worlds, I will retroactively buy your plane ticket and your hotel stay.
There you go.
All right.
Striker wrote you need to win first, but what he meant to say is you need a win first.
Right. Because my play style has not given me multiple worlds.
I will tell you this. I think you might see a vehicle at Worlds.
Oh yeah, no, I'll definitely see a vehicle at Worlds.
Yep.
I'm just not going to play a.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
God,
Is that because?
Hold on one second. Is this
is
your
that because-
wife who just wrote or finish the tournament?
Okay. So
Yeah, that would be a good one.
I'm
I'm just gonna ask though.
I'm just gonna.
If you're
that goes
seeing
back
vehicles,
favorite this one. I just added that to favorites. There we go.
if you're
Yeah.
seeing vehicles at Worlds, is it because people there don't
Can I
know how to
pin
play?
that? Can I pin that comment?
I just added it to favorites so I can bring it up week
Okay.
after week.
there's been one tournament I haven't finished, and that was because I got food poisoning.
Crickets.
Yeah, I know, because you can't answer that. Like,
Hold on.
I was.
Anthony basically got food poisoning and came in
Yeah.
second.
what is basically got food poisoning?
Yeah.
I literally tried to food poison
I
him
was.
with
I
whole.
was there. Striker says, "Wow, that burn hurts more than Anakin on Mustafar."
Yeah, my wife and I will be having a conversation because she doesn't even play in tournaments that often.
I'm gonna ask her if she's ever seen a vehicle. Yep.
Dude, honestly, Sean, if you could come down here and try to help shake up this meta, that would be.
I feel like I should come
Great.
down there with vehicles because I think since no one's ever seen one, they would be amazed when they got run over by trucks and tanks.
See, and I think that's the hard thing about the tournament scene in general, especially when we had the days of yore of rally point qualifiers and now primes, is that guys would play their local metas, and then when you got worlds, you got guys coming from everywhere, and you can't really prep for something outside of that. But I think it goes back to the end of the day. You play your game and you play your list. Like Luke Cook's a good example of that. Brought a triple bike list with ISF. Dominated. Yeah, he took second, but dominated. But it's because he knew that list. He won Worlds with Palpatine because he knew that.
I did the same thing with 3 FD cannons.
I said, I've got that gift that I made. The best list is the one you practice with.
Yeah, and I live to that all day, which is why I will constantly talk up E-Webs and just wait till I start talking up 4-man scout troopers.
Jared's got a good point here. I think we need to hug it out because HH12s matter.
Can I point out here that we're basically in Tuesday night Discord chat now, and the viewership is going back up?
Yes.
Yeah,
Again,
right.
I must be doing something right.
Yes.
No, it's because Ryan stopped talking.
Hey, wait, was it actually?
Right.
Lindsay brings up a good point. Wasn't there that guy that played double ATSTs back in February?
No,
at
we
Omaha.
okay. I'm gonna be just brutally honest right now.
No, be nice.
you.
Be nice.
Not
It's the
now.
internet,
Be
be nice.
Yeah, be
Sean,
nice.
Sean, boot him.
Players,
Boot him.
players, no,
Sean,
players
boot him.
who do.
Sean, boot him.
If you want to talk about players who don't finish tournaments, this individual will go 0-2 and drop.
Yeah, but I mean,
So I'm not gonna bring up like he brought double eight. Like I'm not gonna. give him
48th
light
row.
of day.
48th
Wait,
round, and I've
hold
been
on.
doing homework for the past half an hour.
And then the next one in Des Moines, there was the group of folks that came in and brought a saber tank and a snail tank, and there were some spiders.
Again, play what you have or play what seems interesting to you. It goes back to that. But at the end of the day, I just have that mentality. I don't care what you bring. Either I'll ignore it or it's not going to score. And you can take care of that easily turn 0.
as blue or red?
I have this. I might make T-shirts of it unless you beat me to it. Where
I won't be making
red
any
or
T-shirts. It's
red
red.
or
Bid
dead.
for red.
Yeah.
Bid for red.
Okay.
No, don't even bid for red.
So I appreciate that 48th Ronin made $300. I'm not going to say why, but I do appreciate that he made that while listening to this. I think he wrote somewhere, but I think he meant high quality Legion information coming out of Ryan's mouth. So
I don't know if that made the YouTube comments.
It did.
It did not.
No, you have to click over from top chat to all chat or live chat.
Sean Death says, "Can we get some HH12's Matter TerrainStudio sleeves?" I mean, I can work on some funny HH12 stuff.
I don't know about sleeves, but we can probably do like patches.
Well, Ryan, let's be honest. You won't end up with any of it anyways, because you're not supporting
tradition.
Yeah, because tradition, exactly.
Tradition.
All right, fellas. Well, that was a robust conversation about Blizzard Force and whether HH12s are or are not good. Apparently, the jury's still out. We'll continue to rock them here. Ryan, join the league because you'll see lots of vehicles. That's my advice. It'll force you to play things. You won't have to buy a single model. You can join. It's a good league. There's a lot of friendly folks in there. The conversations both during, after, and in game are good. I will say that, no question about it. You'll get to see lots of things. You may or may not get any games against me, depending on how you're doing in the league. But that's the best way to do that is to get in the league. I hope you do.
I want to. It's just a matter of time and everyone trying to handicap eWebs, which...
Who's trying to handicap eWebs now?
I heard a rumor through the
said.
grapevine, which is fine because then I'll take dewbacks.
Oh, you mean like in
a discussion for another point. Yeah, in the league.
In the league? Oh, the banning?
In the league, yeah.
Yeah. I jokingly said somebody should try to press for eWebs to be banned.
Which
but I don't
we all know if I join, it'll happen.
Well, I mean...
But then I can't prove my point that eWebs are the best unit.
No, you know why?
The crutch play... I mean, there was no Magna Guard this round, and I managed to get through. There's probably going to be no spiders next round, and hopefully I can get through. And, Force users took a hit in round 2, and all the Force user players got through. And, yeah, I think it's just... I think it just forces people into playing things that they aren't used to, and then they run up against other things that they have to find new solutions for. So I think that's the whole point of what we're doing that for.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Jake said he's played the number 4 ranked person in the U.S. in the league twice. So there you go.
Okay, no, Jake, don't bring that up because that's.
Is that a sore topic for Ryan?
Not for me. No. I know your thoughts on the ELO rankings.
Yeah, ELO it's a fun thing. Every single tournament is basically like resets it. I mean, that's my opinion about it. I mean,
it has no bearing on anything.
Yeah, it doesn't seed you any higher or anything like that. If it did that stuff, then yeah, sure it would be. On the topic of sore topics and just leaving you at this point. Wow, Boston Red Sox getting beat 28-5 by the Toronto Blue Jays.
I know, I was waiting.
Wow.
So yeah, that game happened Friday night, and that's what Brendan and I were talking about, and we're getting yelled at. No, you can't say anything about it. So
I don't know what sports ball is, but I like this bird.
All I have to say is, unlike Ryan, who never sees vehicles, you never see in the park grand slams in the major leagues. Except for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. On behalf of the city of Boston, you're welcome. However, no one can win for 2 decades and have a 2-decade dynasty.
Wait a second. Are we trying to go back on? Are we trying to use some historical MLB as some sort of bearing on current MLB?
I'm taking the city of Boston against the city of Toronto.
How is the guy from Wish.com, Iowa, speaking for the city of Boston?
It's a long story that I can tell you outside of this.
Okay, fantastic, because you just clicked over the 3-hour mark and YouTube's going to start charging me double here. So they lost 40-10 over the 3 games.
Bill me the hours. Bill me the hours.
Oh, well, you can just make a donation like everyone else. So we'll appreciate your money as much as anyone else, Ryan. Maybe perhaps even slightly more. Yes, we just won't send you any of the perks because you won't wear them. All right, folks. Well, that was a robust conversation there about all things Blizzard Force and then about 45 other side topics. We'll do it all again next week, and it won't be as long. And Michael will be here for the next 3 or 4 days, so we will do several live look-ins, games, banters, Friday night fights, all things. So expect a bunch of content here in the next couple of days. And Pally's got something to say?
I'll say, so if you haven't yet, get on the Discord and vote for the lists, because Sean really doesn't want to play the naked Gar list.
Oh, I mean, I'll play whatever.
Or eWebs. I heard there's an eWeb list in there.
I did. I submitted an eWeb list.
Yeah, go vote, Ryan. Go vote. I'll.
Will my vote matter though?
I mean, will it matter as much as the
because I'm
next
an
person?
American. Because my vote doesn't matter.
Oh well,
Okay, let's shut down this stream right now.
Wow. We just well, if we hadn't alienated that particular group or demographic, we did now. So that's good. Thanks. Check that box off and moving along because there's things to do. So, all right, folks, we'll have a great night, and we're sorry again for Ryan. So we'll see you guys next week. All right, cheers.
Toodles.